Hey, this is Warren from Taming Sorry, and you're listening to On the Fly with Stevie and Jason.
You are listening to On the Fly.
Right.
Make them go down.
What's up, guys? Oh my God. It's been a while. Yeah. And now you just like I always say, the Cowboys fans come out of the woodwork when they play well. They just wait till
I told you I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm not.
All I've heard after
But what
y'all
am I supposed to do?
Hold
Stevie,
on,
they're my
hold on.
team. Hello.
Hold on. You beat the Colts. You beat the Colts.
Hey, we beat the Bengals earlier. We beat the Vikings. So come on.
Hold on. You were only 2 points ahead of them going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, we woke up.
And then y'all
did that too.
33 points. Y'all decided
we did that against Minnesota too. Hello, Minnesota. Their only loss is against who?
No, they've lost twice.
Okay, well, one of them's against us.
Yeah, they've lost.
And we beat the Bengals, and the Bengals are getting good now. So Bengals, whatever. Susanna Hoffs.
We beat the Bengals the week before y'all did. So I mean, come on, that's not saying much.
Yeah, but your sorry asses couldn't beat the Eagles. Nah, I mean, I joke around. I'm a fan.
Did y'all beat the Eagles?
No.
Okay.
Y'all didn't either. But we play them in a couple weeks. No, I'm saying we have a lot of I got a lot of my friends. They're talking about Odell, who's been in the news, and there's a report coming out that he won't be available till January.
Don't need to mess with him.
And my buddy's like, "Oh yeah, well we can use him in January." I go, "You're worried about January, dude? You have the rest of the season to get work. We got the Giants. We got the Eagles in a couple weeks. That's who we need to worry about. If we beat that game is going to show. That game is going to show which team is the better, and that's going to be a real test for both of them. Because I didn't really believe in the Eagles at first. I'm starting to see it now.
They put it on Tennessee this past week.
Got their GM fired.
Yeah, well, you know why that happened.
He traded the wide receiver.
Yeah, and then the wide receiver was the one that went off on them. So, I mean,
hey, isn't that why? Who was it? Chip Kelly when he was the Eagles and he traded like all that wide receiver to the. I mean, I was so happy when I wish Chip Kelly would have stayed. Was it Chip Kelly, the guy that came from Oregon?
Yeah.
I wish they would have stayed and he's still coaching the Eagles. So that would have been great.
Of course, because he sucked.
He traded away a lot of the draft picks, man. They took a while to recover.
I think he was sent there to sabotage the Eagles for some reason.
Jerry Jones paid him.
In my opinion, as an outsider looking in on the Cowboys situation, you do not need to mess with Odell Beckham.
He's too much drama.
No, I mean not. I mean he's kind of got better about the drama. He shored that up a little bit when he was with the Rams.
You know what?
Hold on. Why are you going to mess up?
Oh, we're good. We're doing the hold on now. We just don't let that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Okay.
Hold on. You don't mess up in January the chemistry that you got right now. You've got receivers that are making plays.
CeeDee Lamb.
Plus, you're getting ready to pick up another one of your receivers that you signed in the offseason from Pittsburgh. He's coming back off an injury. So, if he's not going to be ready till January, I don't know if I'd mess with him. I think
they signed some guy from Minnesota, I think, some ex-player from Minnesota too. Was they the same guy you're talking about? I'm not.
No.
Yeah, because their quarterback got hurt, so.
James Washington was a wide receiver for Pittsburgh for the last 3 or 4 years. In the offseason free agency, he went to the Cowboys, but
he was hurt.
In preseason, he had a foot injury.
That's right.
And, he had to have surgery, so he's been out. He's getting ready to come back. So, I think you got enough depth at wide receiver, and your guys are making plays. So
CeeDee Lamb's coming into his own. He's my favorite player right now, and it kills me because he's a freaking Sooner. But he's a Cowboy, so that makes it all better.
Oh, okay.
I wanna.
Amazing.
Do I need to hold on still, or can I talk still?
No, go ahead. I know you're going to talk about another. I'm going to get you on this too.
Now, the Cowboys are just. I'm a fan. You know, I'm a fan. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid because I don't trust them. Cowboys are like that old girlfriend that shows up when you're lonely. She breaks your heart every freaking year, but she starts looking good there around January. You're going to let her in. She's going to break your heart again. The weakest part of this Cowboys team is not the wide receiver. CeeDee Lamb's, he's gotten much better. It's not your defense, although they got their secondary is kind of banged up. And it's not your running back. Zeke and Pollard are doing great.
What other
it's your quarterback. It's your quarterback.
Bingo.
And talking about Odell, they're out there wooing him. You got who's out there wooing him the other night at the Mavericks game? It's your freaking defense. It's Michael Parsons and Diggs. Where's your quarterback? You want that guy bad enough? Where's your leader of your team?
He's too cool for school, buddy.
Where's he's on his sleep mattress bed getting his 12 hours that he does on those commercials? Where's your freaking quarterback? Where's your leader? I'm not sold on Dak. I'm not a Dak fan. I guess you can tell. You agree with me though?
Yeah, I agree with you. He's too busy putting his picture on his
yeah. Did you see that?
Yes. How many people gave him the devil?
People love Dak, but nobody loves Dak more than Dak.
More than Dak.
I put that on Facebook. That was great.
Yep. So go ahead. I know you had another one of your teams.
Oh man.
Another
one teams, as we know, the great Yadier Molina. Oh, you don't hate the Cardinals, do you? Come on, dude. Just because they're not the what was your team? The Ravens, Baltimore Ravens, or who is that?
That's blasphemy there, buddy. I am not a Baltimore Ravens fan.
Who's the baseball team? What are they called?
Baltimore Orioles.
Haven't been crap since they fired Buck Olszewski. Didn't he go to New York?
Showalter, not Olszewski.
He looks like that guy who died.
He's a great manager.
Oh, he's a great man. Who's that guy that died? Philip Seymour Hoffman. It looks like I always get him as Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Wasn't Philip Seymour Hoffman in that movie Moneyball?
Yeah, he didn't play him.
The A's.
Played
the A's manager.
Okay, Wilson Contreras, catcher for the Cubs. Well, Cardinals, I guess the winter meetings are going on right now. I don't have cable, so I usually watch MLB Network. They just signed, they paid for him, but they got him a good catcher, and it's from the Cubs. It would be like us getting a wide receiver from the Eagles, the Cowboys. It's our biggest rival, and yeah, there's other ones out there, but Cardinals' opportunity to win is now because they got the NL MVP and Goldschmidt, although he didn't show up the last 2 months. They got probably one of the best third basemen in Arenado. So their thing is to win now. So, I mean, Pujols and Yachty are gone. So it's time to, that leadership is gone. So that old school Cardinals are gone. So they need Wainwright's still there, but they need to step up and win. And I feel pretty good about this. I know we'll win the division, but Cardinals are just like we won the division this year, bro.
Okay.
Cardinals are like the Cowboys. They win a division in the first round, they're out. So I'm optimistic, but I am with the Cowboys. I'm an eternal optimist that should probably be committed for, still believing in the Cowboys. That's it.
Well, I'm like this with you. You talked about how bad the Cubs suck all the time, but y'all went out and paid big money for their catcher. So, hey,
you obviously, you have, don't you have a sports podcast? Don't you
know? I do.
When you say somebody sucks, you don't mean the players individually, you mean the organization.
Know that, but I have to give you a hard time.
You give me a hard time about everything, man.
I know.
It's bad enough with the Cowboys. Now you're attacking my Cardinals? What the hell, dude?
I didn't attack them. What kind of shirt you got on that, bud? Is that a Shazam shirt?
Yeah. You like Shazam?
I like that. Shazam was like my favorite superhero.
He's my favorite superhero, yeah. Even though he's a blatant ripoff of Superman.
Not blatant.
Oh, yeah. When it started out, it ripped off Superman. They admit it. I'm old enough to remember when Captain Marvel and Shazam were the same person.
Yeah, I remember that.
Captain Marvel became a really hot chick now, but
in your eyes, not everybody else.
You don't think she's
what
hot?
are you saying? No, I'm talking about. Never mind. You don't get it.
Have you seen Black Adam yet?
No.
It's supposed to be. It's like the the enemy of. It's the enemy of Shazam.
I'm hearing a lot of people.
It was okay.
No, I'm hearing a lot of people hating on The Rock now, though.
It was okay. I like The Rock, but this is probably the first
I did
Rock
like
movie.
The Rock. I mean, but what I'm saying as a person, I hear they're hating on him now.
Oh yeah, because they're calling him out for steroids. Duh.
Duh, good
Like,
lord.
like who's that guy that said he was just eating beef hearts? And Joe Rogan said that you can't be that buff at 50. But Joe Rogan looks like he's taking roids too. He ain't as big as The Rock, but he's pretty buff too.
Maybe Joe Rogan's speaking from experience. Oh, I know what you're doing. I did it too.
Yeah, The Rock is. I mean, he's pretty damn big, man. I mean, that's not a good thing to keep on that frame at 50. That's as bad as being a fat ass like me at 50. So
I hadn't hit 50 yet, so I can't say that.
Oh, you're there, dude. Almost. You might as well be.
Almost.
You're less than a year, bro. It's coming.
So tonight, the main event.
So, Dale Beckham is a no for both of us.
I don't
let
think
him go.
So.
I agree.
If I was a Cowboys fan, I would not want him. And I know a lot of Cowboys fans, and the guy that helps me, he's my assistant coach. He's like, Odell. I'm like, dude, don't mess with Odell.
You got to have a quarterback that can throw to him first of all.
Well, I mean, that's one thing, but I don't see where you need him. It's an unnecessary need. You're good.
We'll choke without him. We'll be okay.
Yeah, you can.
I'm
choke with the players you got now.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic, but
yeah, I know that's the way to be.
I'm a fan, but I'm not. Yeah, I guess I am a cult. I guess I am a cult, but I don't drink the Kool-Aid like the rest of the Jonestown people or whatever it gets from. Okay, I'll shut up now. I'll shh like you want me to.
Hey, tonight.
Haven't seen you so long. 2
God
weeks, Stevie.
Almighty, no.
2 weeks I haven't seen you, brother. Come on, man.
Tonight, we're going to continue our series on the 80s. Tonight's going to be 1981. We do our top 5 songs.
81. It was 87.
Yeah, sure you did, bud. 81 songs, movies, TV shows, and albums. But before we do that, we've got a lot to catch up on. First of all, some sad news. Two sad things to report. One happened over a week ago, I guess. Christine McVie from Fleetwood Mac passed away after a short illness in the hospital. I mean, it must have been really short because you hadn't heard anything about it. I remember looking, I was like, this can't be right. This is one of those, but yeah, apparently she passed away after a short illness. I did like, the class act that Stevie Nicks is to put the statement that she issued about her best friend and talking about she wanted to go to London to see her, but she was told to wait. And apparently it got worse really quick. But
it was like, I think Saturday it happened. They got diagnosed and she was dead.
Yeah. And then, of course, happened yesterday or the day before, Kirstie Alley, actress, best known probably for Look Who's Talking and Cheers.
Not Runaway?
Yeah, you can tell who the Kiss Tards are. We were thinking about Runaway. I was going to say Runaway, but yeah.
But
anyway,
found.
With Gene Simmons of Kiss.
And,
Kiss.
the ex-Mrs. Richard Marx.
Yeah, Cynthia Rhodes. Passed away. I didn't realize she was 71 years old. But apparently she had been battling cancer too.
I heard that was pretty quick too, that she just found out too.
Yeah. So two big icons in the entertainment world passed away the last 2 weeks. Just sad news. Anyway, we're getting to that. We've said it before. You're getting to that age now, or at least we are, where a lot of the people that you grew up watching on TV, and you don't look at it, and it's bad because you don't look at it like, God, they could, they're at the age they could go anytime. That's like Kiss. I mean, Kiss, they're in the 70s. They could go anytime now. You could hear Paul Stanley's gone anytime now, but you don't think of it that way, though. At least I don't. I mean, I haven't thought about it as much because, no pun intended, they're so much larger than life. But
I tell you what, I didn't used to think it that way, but I mean, ever since I hit 50, like I hear about a I always said Kirstie Alley, I guess. She's only 21 years older than me. You think about it, it's like, and
she's only a person old enough to drink older than you.
that's true.
So, you know,
rest in peace, both of them. Both legends, and both strong women with strong opinions. Speaking of McVie, I saw her, I think 5 or 6 years ago. It was with her and Lindsey Buckingham did an album together, which is a great album if you haven't heard it. As it was called McVeigh Buckingham or something like that, or Buckingham McVeigh something. And they played a little place called the Majestic here, which I saw Tesla. Was it Tesla? No, that's Aztec. Little place where little place been around since the 20s, and man, that was great. I never saw Fleetwood Mac, but I can only imagine because Lindsay is probably my favorite member of the Fleetwood Mac, so it was pretty cool. And I just wish I never got to see Fleetwood Mac, man. I kicked myself.
Yeah, that's one of those bucket list ones that you really want to see somebody like that, and unfortunately,
But the way things are, they'll put somebody in their place and hit the road next year.
You know what? I don't think they'll do that. I don't. I think if they decide to do that, I think I don't think Stevie Nicks will go out with them.
Well, I don't know how you can miss two of your most prominent, like Lindsey Buckingham's already gone, and now she's gone. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean,
I don't think they'll go. I think if Stevie Nicks goes out, it'll be on her own. I mean, I don't think they'll be able to. I don't think you'll see Fleetwood Mac again. It's as build as Fleetwood Mac. I'll put it that way. Don't think so.
Yeah, it's true, but I mean, Stones did it. ZZ Top did it. I mean, Body's Not Even Cold. They already back on the road.
Yeah, that's true. But
who would ever thought the Stones would go without Charlie Watts? I didn't see that. I mean, that being a Stones fan that I am,
I mean, I could see where you would think that, but I guess it's all about the big old money ball, buddy. All right. So
you think it's about money when they have that much? Don't you think it's about the thrill of being on stage? I think it's more about that.
I don't think,
especially with the Stones, they're so loaded. I don't think it's about the money. I think
if it's not about the money, why are ticket prices?
The live performance, because that's just what the market dictates. That's Ticketmaster. That's Live Nation.
Ticketmaster is one thing, but
you see those Taylor Swift fans going to sue Ticketmaster? It's like, welcome to real life. They've been like that forever. I tried to get John.
It's just something for her to write another song about.
I tried to get John Cougar Mellencamp or Cougar or whatever you call him, and you can't buy anything but a damn resale ticket. So all that is they just packed it up, and that's sponsored by Live Nation.
Yeah,
it's bullshit.
Me and Joe Decker were talking the other day, and I don't know if you know this artist. He's a newer country artist, Morgan Wallen. My daughter is a big fan of him. He's good. I like his music. Joe is a big fan of him, and his daughter is a big fan. So he was telling me, I was saying, have you heard these 3 new songs? And he was talking about, He said, tickets go on sale tomorrow for a show up here. And I haven't texted him since to see if he was able to get them because it's a hot ticket. But I did see a post on my Facebook from someone that I'm friends with on Facebook saying she was trying to get in the lottery to get tickets.
It's ridiculous.
Do you know? And then she said, it's probably a good thing I didn't, because at that particular show, lawn seats, take a wild guess how much lawn seats were at that show.
Got to be at least over 100. Over 200? Nah, that's I'm done. No.
$500
for a lawn seat.
For a lawn seat.
I honestly wouldn't. I think I would pay $500 to see the second coming of Christ, maybe. But no,
that is ridiculous. I mean, can you hear me?
You froze up.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you froze up. You still
okay?
Frozen.
That's fine. That's fine. It's gonna come back.
You still got such a pretty face there, Steve. You just frozen.
But
it's even better when the mouth's not moving. Oh.
Anyway, the thing is,
$500.
Yes, $500, dude. And that, that in my opinion, and people may disagree with me, that's fine. And you may disagree with me, that's
If
fine.
you pay it, yeah.
No, that's when the artist needs to step in.
True.
I'm
I agree with you.
sorry, but if you don't step in on something like that, that makes me think, you care more about the money than you do entertaining the fans. And I mean, you're going to make money but $500 lawn seats. That's ridiculous.
But a lot of that stuff doesn't go to the artist. A lot of that stuff goes to
Oh,
the
I know.
fees and all that crap.
It's like entertainment fees, taxes, so and so and so and so. It's so, but that's what
they charge you a thing called a handling fee. It's like, what the hell is a handling fee?
Entertainment fee. Aren't we paying that for the ticket? Isn't that what the ticket is?
I hate to say it, but that's what happens when you get monopolies like Ticketmaster.
I thought monopolies were
Ticketmaster
illegal.
and Live Nation. Live Nation used to be Clear Channel, which killed the radio and the Dixie Chicks stuff with the radio stations. And now they did it with Ticketmaster. I mean, there's no regulation, and I mean, honestly, you don't have laws. They're gonna. I mean, I don't know, but the biggest band in the world was probably Pearl Jam in the early '90s, and they tried to go against them.
They tried to tell it.
They did, and they couldn't do it. So, I thought about that, and we're going to talk about Metallica, but I looked at the prices for those. You talk about, I mean, those are going for. I saw that some go for $38,000.
That's crazy.
And it's like I've come to the conclusion. I think my time of seeing big bands is done.
Probably so.
I mean, I go see Tesla. I can, $70
ticket. So a band that
Metallica, Kiss, big. Stones. I'm probably done with that because I probably can't afford the ticket. I'm not going to pay that much.
As far as the big tours go, yeah, I think they're going to price themselves right out of business.
Yeah, I mean, there's other crap I'd rather spend my money on than just an hour or two entertainment. And honestly, I'm old enough that I'd rather go see like a Tesla or Dawkins or something like that.
I'd rather go to a small setting and.
I just have to skip the Journey show, I guess, this tour.
If they can get the credit card straight.
Just put it on Neil's credit card. Was it Neil? Credit card. He's good. Was it Neil or Jonathan that did the money? Who was it that spent the money? Neil, right?
Well, it depends on which one you talk to. I mean,
did you ever see that?
They're hiring a manager now. Who was it? It was a manager for Def Leppard. I think really? Is what they're saying. Yeah.
Did you ever see that Neil Sean? He ended up marrying that girl that her and her husband crashed that Obama.
Yes.
That dinner, and it's like God, and they had an affair, and she dubbed him as like, man, maybe Neil Sean had to buy her a few dresses on that credit card. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. They had to go to another presidential ball, I guess. I don't know.
Well, if they can get, I don't, we talked about this before we went on the air. I don't know if they could, how that's going to work. Yeah. With the harsh feelings and the legal stuff. How is a tour with Journey going to work? Is it Journey and Toto and who else was it?
Dorothy, and she opened
Kansas.
Is Dorothy playing too with Toto?
Yeah. Kansas is playing. I
don't know. All these bands that have like one or less original members.
Well, Journey.
I thought all Kansas were dead, dude. I thought they were
just
dust.
No, I was
dust in the wind.
I was making a joke, dude. Kansas, Dorothy,
Kansas.
Took you a minute there.
Dust in the wind.
That's all we are, dude. It's dust in the wind. Bill and Ted.
So you didn't obviously get my joke about Dorothy. I guess there's a band called Dorothy. They're pretty good.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So don't get me about not getting my joke. I don't get your joke. So hey.
If you made the joke about Dorothy, how did you not get the joke about Kansas?
Because I think you're a very serious man, Stevie.
That proves how little you know about me.
When you're talking Journey, you get serious.
That proves how little you know about me. So moving on, talking about Metallica. Metallica just came out last week, announced a new album called 72 Seasons, which I think is pretty cool when you hear the meaning behind it. That they've been through 72 seasons as a band, and they've got the track listings for the album already, and they're going to go on a world tour like you were talking about earlier. think the tour will start in 2024.
Yeah, was it Tom was saying that he has tickets to Fenway, I guess, in
2 nights.
August of 2024 or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's 2 nights. You cannot buy right now. You cannot buy a single ticket. You have to buy the tickets for both nights. And
God, I hate to see how much those are.
but the thing is, and here's where Metallica is becoming my heroes. Each night, you will not hear the same song each night. Can you imagine if somebody like was to do that?
They don't have to.
I mean, Metallica doesn't
Kiss,
have to.
Kiss has always been about the show. Metallica's more about the music.
But
Kiss could play a loop of Rock and Roll Night, and people would still go as long as it blew things up.
Ugh.
They haven't. Kiss has been a nostalgia act since the reunion tour, so they've nailed it since then.
You hear they did actually change a song in Japan, right? They added "Making Love" to the set list.
I don't get the hate for that song. I like that song.
I do like that song, but
I heard they were kind of ragging on Shout Out Loud. I was like, man, I like that song. I like that song. Probably not now, but
it was. They said it was pretty brutal. I haven't listened to it yet, but Metallica's new single. They did release a new single. Looks.
I love it.
It was good. Which proves my point.
Oh God, here we
People
go.
want to hear new music from some of these groups.
From certain bands, not all bands.
Okay.
Like I want to hear stuff from Metallica. I don't want to hear stuff from Kiss.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, but it's okay.
No, because Metallica still cares. Metallica doesn't mail it in, and I love Kiss, my favorite band, but they mail it in.
The last 4 or 5 months, I've come to the realization that Paul cares nothing about Kiss.
Oh yeah,
he's just going through the motions right now.
Soul Station's proof of that. Yeah.
His money maker is going to be Soul Station because he can actually hit the notes on Soul Station, and he has enough background singers to cover his butt. You haven't
seen him on this last tour. I mean, he's mailing it in. I mean, he's just there for the. Well, I mean, he's having fun. I bet he wouldn't do it, but he's not. He's not Paul Stanley. You know what? From 5 years ago. I feel so sorry for Eric Singer. They have beat down that man to where he's playing. He's so tired of playing that same crap every night. Huh? I don't think so. I just think he knows what the job is. He does it. He doesn't have to do that. You look. They don't have a gun to his head saying he has to do that. Well, I mean, there's a big difference. Just like you hear on Time of Zeus, there's a big difference between when he plays for Kiss and then when he gets up there with the Bruce Kulick band playing some other stuff. There's enthusiasm. And yeah, but don't you ever have, like, when you do something like you do your job and you just do that, but you come out and you do the podcast with me? I mean, you have fun with that. I mean, it's more fun. I mean, I get that. Burn out, man, with it. He's been in the band as long as I mean, he's been in the band. Gene and Paul. I mean, I think the only one out there. I mean, I honestly seeing them in concert, Gene and Tommy are the ones having fun. The other two are just, Yeah, I mean, and Gene is having a great time. I'm looking forward to the new Metallica album. I love the last couple of them, and I think, like, there's an audience for new music, but when you put out, the last 2 albums Kiss did, but the last 2 albums Metallica did, that makes me look forward to it. You know what I'm saying? Like Death Magnetic and Atlas, or whatever the last one was called. Is it Death Magnetic? The last one called? Yeah. I mean, those two were great. I liked them both, and that's what I'm looking forward to new one. But after Sonic Boom and Monster, I'm good, bro. Yeah, I got you. Also, you being an Aerosmith fan, we're talking about people having trouble. Steven Tyler, second show they've had to cancel because of his health. Steven Tyler is no spring chicken either. You think? Yeah, it sucks with that because it's kind of sounds like what happened a few years ago when they were going to get Lenny Kravitz to replace him. Remember that when he was like snorting his pain meds or something like that? But I read an interview with him and he said that, when he gets hurt, it's nothing like anybody else because he can't take pain meds. Yeah. Because he's an addict. And, and you get a little bit of pain, we take a Tylenol, so he can't. I mean, Tylenol's nothing to him. So, God, I'm hoping it's just the flu or something like that, or I'm hoping he's not another, because he's getting to that age, man, where it's like kind of like Jerry Garcia, that he had all those setbacks and eventually got him. Remember that?
Yep.
Grateful Dead?
Yep, I remember. So, we've talked about all the up to. I think we've got pretty much.
No, on that happy note, right?
Bob Dylan's in the news. What is he in the news for?
Hey, hello.
I don't know. Maybe there's new music coming from Bob Dylan.
Yeah, you can go see him and Neil Young together. Your two favorites.
Oh my gosh. No, here's how you know when to leave Bob Dylan alone. A former touring guitarist reveals the icon's subtle signal to leave him alone. He ain't got to worry about that from me. I'm sorry. I won't be. Hey, Mr. Dylan. Yeah.
He is what you call not a handsome man and an acquired taste. So.
Yeah, very acquired. Very acquired. All right, so let's move on to the main event. Top 5, the best of 1981. We did 1980 last month. Now 1981 is.
Well, speaking of 80s, you don't want to talk about the our little album wars that we did? You mentioned that.
Oh, you want to bring that up?
Yeah.
Album wars came out. Animalized versus Asylum. And I'm telling you, I was surprised.
You and me both.
Thank you guys for all the by the way, I mean, I'm not just saying it because you picked Animalized a lot, but thank you guys for all the comments and the shares and listening to two guys talk about Kiss albums going against each other. But wow, shockingly surprised how many of you picked Animalized.
But
what? Let's see.
Former guest on this show and our good friend
Jack Pinocchio
said Worden had it right.
Okay. Well, that's all that matters.
Now, I think, like we were talking earlier, I think when you ask most people that don't really like Kiss like we do, like is kind of an understatement. I think they think Heaven's on Fire, which was probably their biggest hit in the 80s, my opinion. Because, I mean, even David Foster talked about liking that song. And I just, and what the hell is What the hell is Asylum? I mean, I don't know. That's just, but everybody has an opinion. So they're like elbows.
If I'm going, and and me and you talked about this before we went on too. If I'm going with a Kiss album from the 80s between those two, I'm going Asylum. I feel like Asylum had more hits, but to each his own.
Like we talked about in the podcast, I think Animalized was their peak in the 80s. I mean, they were like that was a double platinum album. They were on MTV with a concert. I mean, more people may know it's Animalized. They may have checked out after Asylum.
That's true. So,
cause we're going on MTV concert.
Oh God, don't do no power rap.
It's going live on the radio.
I do remember that. Westwood One, the radio network.
I love that. I have that on my phone. I listen to it once a week.
You ripped it, yeah.
I love that. I had the video from Blockbuster, and I had to pay I probably paid more in late fees on that thing for keeping it than it was worth.
You should have got a double deck VCR.
They didn't have them back in 1986, dude. I don't think, did
they? Did you have one VCR?
Yeah.
Did anybody else have another VCR?
No.
Okay, never mind. Nobody else.
I didn't know you could do that, Stevie. I wasn't that technically. Now I would. Yeah.
I don't. I never did that.
Isn't there a law against that, Stevie? Are you?
Is there a statute of limitations? I'm like Ace on the Time Slider show. I don't want to say his name because I don't want to incriminate myself. But Anyway, let's move on. Animalized beat Asylum on album.
Sticking to the 80s.
2-0. I'm 2-0. We've got to come up with another album war, and this time we got to.
You're not 2-0. Whatever.
More people
That
picked
does
Analyze.
no. That you go. You go. Dude, you're not 2-0. Dude, whatever. God.
2-0.
You even
2-0.
admitted that I had the best one. Whatever.
Loser. Colt Seavers, loser.
2-0. Whatever.
Yeah.
You're
Just
not
like
2-0 just because a few people said that, dude.
More people said Analyze an Asylum.
Did you put it on Twitter?
Yes. More
No,
people
you
said
didn't.
Analyze an
Bullshit. You didn't put it
Asylum.
on Twitter.
I may not have tagged you.
Yeah, whatever. You didn't put it on. You
What?
went on Twitter, not Facebook. They're two different
Listen to
ones.
it.
Dude. Whatever.
He's getting all
Hey man, whatever
we
makes
gotta,
you, whatever gets you through the night
we
that
better
you won.
move on.
Go ahead, Stevie.
We better move on.
Yeah, you better move on.
Move on. He's getting all
2-0,
fired up.
whatever, man.
I thought I could get him fired up about the Cowboys or the Cardinals. He's getting more fired up about Analyze over Asylum.
2-0. Well, when we have a guest on here and a friend of the show, I say his is as good as 10 votes. So thank you, Jack.
Okay.
He actually listens to the show too. So a lot of those people that voted love them, but
bet
they probably don't listen to the show.
Look, hold on. We got to throw a shout out. Got to throw a shout out to Marty White. He listens to the show on YouTube.
Hey, Marty.
He's a loudcaster, but his comment this past week, he said, how did he say it? He said the funniest thing I've heard in a long time is Grouchy Smurf as the new lead singer of Accept. And he said, I'm going to have to go and listen to him now. He went and listened. He said, oh, my God, you were right. He does sound like Grouchy Smurf.
Say that on the show or something?
We did. I did.
Oh,
Don't you remember I said.
He does sound, yeah.
Because I listened to, I was talking about when I listened to that Hearing Aid album and Accept was on it. And I said, he sounded like Grouchy Smurf. Marty White was like, that's, and he was talking about, I don't know if I can pull his comment up.
And then we started getting into a big debate about which Smurf was which or something like that.
Yeah.
I never heard of that Smurf.
Greedy.
Yeah.
You were talking about it. It's going to be greedy. It's going to be greedy. Don't talk about that. But Marty White was talking about another band that had him and his friends always said, somebody, okay, here we go.
You notice how Stevie Stevie finds a compliment about himself and he goes to make sure everybody hears about it.
Man of War. He said, I'm from the same town Man of War is from. But
those guys that were all buff and stuff?
I don't know. I would think maybe so.
Or Anvil.
He said, my friends and I had this joke that Lou, who I guess his real name is Eric Adams, sounded like Starscream from the Transformers. So I'm going to have to listen to Man of War and see if Starscream comes out. I guess he was the one that was a little
You listen to Man of War, not me.
Not me. All right. Before we get sidetracked again.
Any other compliments you want to highlight about you, Stevie?
But I will say, I've been meaning to throw a shout out to Marty White because he does comment a lot on YouTube, and he's been a faithful follower of the show. So
he's the one that listens.
Yeah, he's the one that when we did the Tesla episode, was talking about his housekeeper, the lady that cleans the house for him, cleans house for, and he was supposed to find out which one it was from Tesla, and it was Brian Wheat.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, hit him up for an interview for us, bud. So I doubt that happens.
Hang tough, brother. Hang tough.
Hang tough. All right. So
that rousing note.
1981.
Oh.
Little Stevie was 8 years old. Heavy into Star Wars.
Little Stevie.
Stevie's on the up.
It's probably Little Stevie in your guitar. I was 9, 1 year older.
You were old.
I was living in Mansfield, Missouri.
I was living in the same place I do now.
Have you ever
Alaska, North Carolina?
That doesn't surprise me.
Nope, I don't stray far from home.
You don't stray, Stevie.
Nope, I don't.
So you don't have to have a passport to go outside the state, right?
I do. I have been outside the state. So what do you want to start off with?
9 years old, living in Missouri. How about we start off with the albums?
Okay.
Some of the albums that you not necessarily new back then, but like now. Or we can talk about some of the news
Well,
stuff.
see, I did because at that age, believe it or not, at 8 years old, this is when I was really, really getting into the music scene. I was listening to a lot of stuff, the radio, the top Casey Kasem's top 40. That's when I was really starting to get into the music scene. Let's talk about a little bit of what went on in 1981 as far as music goes.
All right.
Let's see. Iron Maiden played their first show with Bruce Dickinson.
Yes, sir.
Here's one for our friends over at Shout Out Loudcat, especially Tom. Rush released a highly regarded album, Moving Pictures, which eventually becomes that band's 6th platinum album. Okay, more power to you there.
Not highly regarded by either one of us, so.
No. Billy Idol leaves his band Generation X to begin a solo career. Ozzy Osbourne bites the head off a dove at CBS record label gathering. The Go-Go's signed to IRS Records.
MTV debuted.
Yep. Eddie Van Halen marries
Valerie
Bertinelli. Yes breaks up.
No.
Sheena Easton hits #1 with Morning Train.
One song that I had noticed too that, and we'll probably agree on this too. I was looking at the Grammys for that year. Christopher Cross, who is a San Antonio native, by the way, just thought I'd throw that out there because something for Stevie to hate on. His album was so big, it beat The Wall by Pink Floyd.
Christopher Cross is like one of my favorites. I mean,
but that album was so big, it beat The Wall.
Yeah.
And not knowing too many Pink Floyd songs and not knowing too many Christopher Cross songs, I can say they made the right decision.
Yes.
I am not what you call a Pink Floyd fan.
I
don't get it. I never got it.
Yeah, I mean, that album was huge. Christopher Cross for that span of like 2 years was huge. With the Arthur theme.
Yeah. And he had that song on Tootsie. Like I don't know if Tootsie's a couple years later, but no, maybe that's not him. No, that's not him. No, that's not him. No, I'm thinking somebody else. Somebody else. Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah,
what?
Okay. He didn't know that, but he had that song in Tootsie. No,
he didn't know.
Ride the Wind.
Ride the Wind. Ride Like the Wind.
Yeah, that one.
Not Poison's Ride the Wind.
Yeah.
But so getting back to that, let's see.
Eagles got beat in the Super Bowl against the Raiders.
Yep, the Raiders. And I was pulling for the Eagles then.
Yeah, I figured.
In that game I was.
Reagan,
Diana Ross leaves Motown for RCA Records.
Reagan got shot.
Yeah.
I remember the day that happened. I came home from school. It was all over the news.
Because North Carolina, the basketball team was playing for the national championship that night and lost. And they were debating whether to have the game. And that was like
but that's going to bring him back. Like, oh, yeah, take the bullet out of him,
Yeah.
AIDS became a big story. I remember that was a big story back then. A lot of people were scared of it because they didn't know how you could catch it. And it wasn't, they came out as a gay disease, but I think like people were just, it's like any kind of virus. They weren't sure how you got it. I just remember that being a big deal. Donkey Kong.
Pac-Man Fever.
Donkey Kong came out too.
Yep. Pac-Man Fever was all over the place. Buckner and Garcia. Brad Whitford leaves Aerosmith.
Yep.
Bands that disbanded. Bay City Rollers.
Big loss.
Hey, shut up. I'm a Bay City Rollers fan.
Yeah, like I said, big loss.
The Knack.
Another big loss.
Starland Vocal Band, so no more Afternoon Delight. Steely Dan. Paul McCartney and Wings. So, all right. So you want to go to albums first, right?
You forgot one thing that happened in 1981.
What's that?
Flair won his first belt by beating Dusty Rhodes, his first world title. I didn't think that was true. I had to look it up. I always thought he beat Harley Race the first time.
No,
that was the second time. I didn't know.
That was the second.
I didn't know that. So he beat Dusty for the first title.
It was too sweet to be sour.
Did Dusty ever have a reign longer than 5 days?
No,
he didn't really.
Dusty, what? He actually won the belt at a Starrcade one night, and they overturned the decision like the next day or the following week.
Hey,
or something like that.
speaking of that, did you ever watch the Territories?
I did not. I have not had a chance to
The
watch
latest
that.
one is on Crockett, and that's been the best one. And the world class one was but the Crockett was the best one. And the one I think either was last night. I think that is Mid South. So
Yeah, I heard Jim Ross had a post about the Mid South one that was coming on.
Cornette was on a couple of those. He was talking about when he fell from the skyscrapers and stuff, and Big Bubba was supposed to catch him.
Bubba was
And like,
supposed to catch him, and whiffed, and Cornette ends up blowing out both his knees.
We got to talk about we got to do a show on that. Like, kind of that's a good series.
There's I'm working on some guests, and there is a big thing going on around this area that actually a friend of the show is really involved in. He's trying to bring a territory back, Mid-Atlantic territory wrestling.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
A friend of the show, you've seen him on some of the intros, Preston Quinn, should be coming on soon to talk about that, discuss that.
Well, they bought Billy Corgan owns the NWA, right?
Yep, he's got the NWA. So 1981 albums. We're doing albums first, right?
Yeah, let's do albums. Your top 5.
All right.
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You start us off.
So you mean to go 1, my 5, and your 5 is okay. So I do my top 5, or you do 5?
Just do 5. We'll go back, switch back and forth.
Okay. Okay. Sadly, this was not sadly, but at the time, this is probably my favorite band. I've talked about them before, and sadly, the guitar player just recently passed away, but they're still penciled in to play the rodeo here in San Antonio. Alabama, Feels So Right. Loving the First Degree, Feels So Right.
Dixieland Delight?
No, that was Dixieland Delight. That was Closer.
Oh, never mind. Excuse me, I'm wrong.
Feels So Right. That was, I think it was right after. It was really. I think it was before Mountain Music or after. I don't know.
Okay.
But I really got in Alabama and Mountain Music. But Feels So Right, Alabama.
All right. And I have to keep up my reputation as a Kiss tard. So my number 5 is The Elder. This is me as a kid at the time. This is how I'm going.
But you still like the album though. That's the thing about it.
I mean, I don't hate it. I don't
hate it. I just don't listen to it. Does that make sense?
I could get if we could get past Odyssey and Fanfare, and maybe Just a Boy too. With
which is worse, Odyssey or Torpedo Girl?
Oh, good Lord, dude! Odyssey is
terrible. Thank you.
Odyssey is not, and not that I don't listen, but jeez,
he's way out of his element doing that. He should not be doing that.
We saw that story that came out last week, and Gene said Ace Frehley was right. It was the wrong album at the time for Kiss. So yeah.
And I also saw that thing about them having to kiss his ass to do the promos for the Creatures. It still didn't make it a difference though.
Yeah, well, you know why they had to do that, right?
Contract.
The record company. Yeah, the contract. They could drop them.
Well, they just lost Peter. Now they're losing Ace. So what the hell?
And that's why they came out with the story that Ace was in a car wreck and Vinny was just taking his place temporarily. Yeah. Until they got the record out, got out on tour, and then they were, the Ace is gone.
I still say if Ace would have stayed in, I mean, what it could have been in the 80s. I mean, God, they would have been great. They would have been so much.
It's like Ace said, if he'd have stayed, he probably would be dead.
Yeah. But you wouldn't get albums like Animalize or Asylum either. So,
Yeah, well, you think about what Ace would have said if they come up with something like Crazy Nights.
Well, they probably would have been more like Aerosmith, I guess, kind of more.
They wouldn't have been able to. Do you think they would have been able to do Crazy Nights with Ace there?
Yeah, because I think Second Sighting's just as keyboard as that. Yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
I mean, it was the time. So, and they're all about chasing trends. He's trying to say.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, Elmer.
You spit in the cooler.
All right, number 4 for you.
Probably one of my favorite guys at the time. I loved his dad. His dad was a great artist, but I liked Hank Jr. Pressure Is On.
Oh yeah, I did.
Country Boy Can Survive. Him in front of the train. Tennessee Stud. This is the Coalition about that one. And what's that one about his dad? His dad fired everybody. I think I fired you. I used to work for me, didn't you? Like, yeah, I think you fired my ass back in 1977. It's some. I think it's the last song. It's some. He does a duet with somebody. Talk about Hank Senior. But Country Boy Can Survive. That was my jam, dude.
Yes, let me tell you, I have fond memories of that because one of my older cousins, same one that got me hooked on Kiss, he was old enough where he could drive. He had a tan color Pinto, and we would all pile in. And this was one of the tapes, the cassettes that he played and Country Boy Can't Survive was on. And that when I saw that, that's one of my honorable mentions there, just because of nostalgic there. But yeah, I can go along with that. Hank Jr.
Hank Jr. was my boy, dude. He was
yeah,
he was my boy. I honestly think around that same time they had that movie come out with John
Boy Walton.
Play
what's his name? Anyway, I know who. Yeah, I remember that movie.
He had that badass pool that was shaped like a guitar. It's like, God,
yeah,
that was awesome.
I remember that movie because I was like, John Boy's playing Hank Williams.
And you talk about how he got the beard. He was in that accident and stuff. And
yep.
That's another guy with Keith Richards. You're kind of surprised is still alive. Woo, Bocephus.
World. Okay, so Hank Jr. is number 4 for you.
Yes, sir.
Number 4 for me is another concept album. You know, The Elder was a concept album. This one was a concept album, and I just remember at the time, I guess this is what turned me into a fan of them, and I was for a while. And, you know, I still like their older stuff, but as time went on, they kind of faded for me. But Styx, Paradise Theater. You know, when you come out with the Rockin' to Paradise and then Too Much Time on My Hands, and didn't realize at the time that it was a concept album. But, you know, going back and listening to it, and the cover was just, you know, you had one I think the front of the cover was Paradise Theater, and it was all glammy looking, lights everywhere. And then on the back of it was like a rundown theater, you know, windows broken and all this stuff. So, but yeah, Paradise Theater, Styx.
I didn't get into Styx until Kilroy. Was that after? Was that after this album?
No, this was before. Paradise Theater was right before. Yeah, it was right before it. And Dennis DeYoung was probably the one that wanted to do the whole concept. I think he was.
Oh, he was. It's behind the music. Talk about it.
Yeah. So
he's not with them anymore, is he?
No. They did a reunion and something. He's got some kind of condition that with the lights and everything, and it's not good for him. And they were getting ready to do this big tour, reunion tour. It's been a few years back, and he had to pull out because he couldn't do it. Yeah.
Maybe Vertigo or something. It's like Vertigo.
It's still a lot of bad blood between him and other members of the group, especially Tommy Shaw, I think. Because Tommy Shaw, I don't know, you remember on that Behind the Music when they showed Tommy Shaw was in Damn Yankees, and they do a part of their concert where, you know, lights go down and all of a sudden you hear the piano for Babe starts playing, and all the members of the band are looking at each other, and Tommy Shaw just says no, and they start playing this hard song Damn Yankees did. And I think Dennis DeYoung took offense to that because that was one of their big hits.
They made fun of Night Ranger too with Sister Christian. I saw that show here.
How the heck do you make?
They were going back and forth, like they were giving him crap about Babe, and they were like Sister Christian. They were because this was the '90s, and it was, I guess, passe to make fun of stuff like that.
You can't really make fun of either song. Both songs were great songs. They I mean, I guarantee Tommy Shaw wasn't thinking Babe was a bad song back when it came out, was hitting the top of the charts.
Styx always reminds me of Adam Sandler and Big Daddy. Styx was American. Yeah, that's like his favorite. And that's why I love Adam Sandler movies, because he always had the old music in them.
Yep, he always does. All right, number 3 for you.
Number 3 for me probably has my favorite song by this artist. okay, not all time maybe, but maybe that era. Fair Warning, Van Halen.
Van Halen.
Unchained. Probably my favorite David Lee Roth song. Come on, Dave, give me a break. Unchained is like that song that I never get tired of. I just love that freaking song. So This Is Love, I think, is on there. Is Women in Love on that one? I like that song. I love that song. I put that on All Things. I don't know. I may be the wrong album, but I put Women in Love on that. One of the All Things Rock, Hard Rock, and Metal. Somebody was saying they sold out with that song. That's a badass song, dude. I mean, everybody's a damn critic, dude. I mean, come on, it's Van Halen.
So Van Halen,
and I'm a Sammy guy because that was the era I grew up on. But I love the whole band, so I don't hate either era.
Okay. Fair Warning is one of my honorable mentions, by the way. So I will get to that. One of my 30. So, but this my
wasn't gonna say it.
My number 3 is another. My brother actually bought the cassette, and I was kind of scared of it at first, but getting to listen to it, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. This is, and I didn't get hooked on it at the time, but I didn't mind it. Ozzy Osbourne, Diary of a Madman.
My honorable mention. Yeah.
Just that diary, and that's probably at the time the only song I listened to, and it was probably because it had that classical influence on it with that Randy Rhoads does. Had no idea who Randy Rhoads was at the time. Had no idea what Ozzy Osbourne had done at the time at 8 years old. But the cover was like, I was like, oh Lord, yeah, this is.
So was this pre? It wasn't Blizzard of Oz. It was pre Blizzard.
It's after Blizzard.
That's right.
Yeah,
because then we talked about Blizzard of Oz last time. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he came out with he was putting out albums. I think Sharon was trying to get him to put out albums quick. It's like Kiss used to do.
I didn't really get into Ozzy till Bark at the Moon. I bought that album and
I got hooked on Ozzy after Ultimate Sin, and
Bark at the Moon. Bark at the Moon has my favorite Ozzy song, and we'll get into that later on. Rock and Roll Rebel. That's like my favorite Ozzy. But that has nothing to do with 981. Moving on.
Diary of a Madman, my number 3. What's your number 2?
So, going from Van Halen and Ozzy Osbourne to George Strait. Straight Country.
Straight Country.
You got Unwound. There's a song that was on his box set that's on this album. It's called Blame It on Mexico. It's like a B-side. Good song. Check it out if you want to hear it. Down and Out. This is kind of, he went from playing Green Hall and stuff like that to having an album, and it was just a big freaking uphill from there. And George Strait became the king of the 80s. A lot of the 90s too, man. You ask a lot of people.
Number 2, you're doing a lot of country in this list.
Well, I didn't really get into like heavy metal till I got into AC/DC.
And see, I was opposite. Well, I didn't do a lot of country back then. The Hank Williams was Country Boy Can't Survive was about the limit I did right then. Maybe the Barbara Mandrell and Mandrell Sisters Variety Hour or something like that. But anyway, number 2 for me.
Oh, I remember that show. What was the youngest one? Erlene. Ooh,
Erlene. Was it Louise? Show. Louise.
Well, they were all good looking. The middle one was like, she was pretty hot too.
She was married to T.G. Shepherd. Remember that?
Really?
Yeah.
The middle one?
The dark-headed one. Really dark-headed?
Really? Yeah, she was the middle one. Because Erlene was the younger, dumb bimbo one.
Yeah, she played the dumb. Yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
T.G. Shepherd. If I'm not, I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'd heard that back then. So this my number 2 is one that, we played a cassette, wore it out. I knew all the songs back then. You had some great ones on there. Jukebox Hero, Waiting for a Girl Like You, Urgent. Luann was one that we listened to a lot. Break It Up.
I used to get that the Luann platter when I went to Luby's.
Yeah, I got you. Foreigner 4.
4, yeah.
Yeah.
Is Blue Monday on that one?
No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna win.
That's another band that did a lot of albums, like a lot of times.
But yeah, Foreigner 4. I know we wore that cassette out back then. Mick Jones, Lou Graham.
I think didn't records come out that same year? That Greatest Hits?
Yeah, the Greatest Hits.
That's the one I remember. That's the one I remember.
But 4 was was just one. We didn't have records. We had 4.
But
And
you
I
talk
think
about a great greatest hits. Records is a great greatest hits.
records
That
came
was
out
like
in '82.
okay. It was around that time
Yeah,
because Urgent was my jam, man. I love that song.
Urgent was great. That's a very underrated song by them that doesn't get talked about a lot. They had 5 singles from that album.
I believe it.
Urgent, Waiting for a Girl Like You, Jukebox Hero, Break It Up, and Luann. So they were pretty. That's a pretty solid album there.
A buddy of mine. I bought an album. I think it was Double Vision or something. It was like the '70s one. And I remember my buddy looking at it. He goes, "You know what?" And this is like in the '90s. He's telling me this is like, man, music was a lot different back then. I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Man, they're probably the ugliest band." But
they weren't pretty. They weren't
pretty.
What you would call very handsome men.
But man, they were everywhere. I mean, they didn't rely on your appearance back then. You know, you could be ugly, and that's what his point was. Like, yeah, it's a good point.
So, number 1 for you.
Number 1 for me is probably not a surprise to you. They were pretty big in the '81. I remember watching this they had a concert on HBO called Let's Spend the Night Together.
Okay.
Around that time, and I think it was this tour, the Tattoo You tour. But one of my favorite songs, Stone songs, Keith sings it. It's called Little TNA. She's my little TNA. That's one of my favorite Stone songs of all time. So I had to put Tattoo You on because I remember the Stones from back then. So
yeah, going through the list of 81 albums, I saw that and I was like, I know Warden's going to have this somewhere on his list.
Because I've probably been in the Stones as long as I was. I mean, when I was still in like Alabama and stuff, but I've stayed with the Stones. So yeah.
So
you know me too well, Stevie.
Yep, my number 1 will probably not surprise you either. This was another cassette we wore out, and it had so many great songs on it. Who's Crying Now, Stone in Love, Open Arms, Don't Stop Believing, just to name a few. Journey, Escape. I mean, this is what really got me into Journey. Steve Perry. Open Arms was what really everybody wanted to hear, but Don't Stop Believing. I'll tell you what, one of my favorites off that album, Stone in Love.
That's a good song. I like that song.
That is a really good song. And Still They Ride. Still They Ride is a great song off that album. There's not many of them. There's not many songs off that album that I'll skip, if any.
I remember going to school in the 2nd grade in 1981, 82 or whatever. And I remember nobody had like headphones or something.
Yeah.
Back then. Everybody had that big cassette player. Remember that?
Uh-huh.
And they were always they played Journey all the time. And it was, they were a big band at the time. They were big. So that's what I remember. It's probably why I hate Journey, because I remember going to 2nd grade.
Probably.
Stoner Love's a good song.
I hate Journey because of 2nd grade. Okay.
Yeah, Stoner Love's a good song.
All right. Which category do we move on to next?
I think we need to go to movie. How about TV shows?
All right, let's go to TV shows.
TV shows for 500, Stevie.
All right, I'll start off.
Okay.
My number 5, and these are shows that debuted in 1981. These are not just shows that were on the air.
These shows that you liked, or you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like these shows.
Yeah, I did that too. The ones that debuted in 1981.
Yeah. The first one would probably surprise you, but my mom was a big, the whole Dallas thing. And Friday nights, you didn't have to go. You didn't have to go to sleep. You could stay up late and watch whatever.
After Dallas, you're talking about after Dallas?
Yes,
I know what you're talking about.
Falcon Crest.
Yes.
Jane Wyman, Lorenzo
Lamas.
Anna Alicia. She was hot. If you don't know who I'm talking about, you remember her?
I vaguely remember Falcon Crest.
Okay.
It's funny. We didn't watch Falcon Crest, but we watched Dallas.
Yeah.
And I remember that it was around, I don't know what year, but it was Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
Dallas and then
Falcon Crest. Yep. So they were doing like these dramas, late night dramas on every network about different things. What Dynasty was about, what jewelry, or what was that about?
God, what was Dynasty about?
What was that family? what was the Carrington family?
I watched it, but I don't remember.
I can't remember either. Then you have,
I mean, you knew Ewan was about oil, so it's Texas.
Ewan oil, and then of course Falcon Crest was about
The
wine.
wine.
They had a big vineyard. So
San Francisco, right? Because didn't they
Yep,
the car
San
start off on the
Francisco.
bridge? Yeah.
Yep. And you know, Lorenzo Lamas was
Grease.
like the you really put your foot into it this time. He played the dorky athlete, if that made sense, in Greece. But that's probably one of the reasons I started watching Falcon Crest was because he was on there. And then you find out later Jane Wyman, who is the lead character, used to be married to President Reagan.
Exactly.
So that was kind of cool to find that out at the time. But yeah, it wasn't bad. I went back and actually looked it up on when I got the started streaming, and you can watch a lot of the old episodes.
It had a good run. It was on there for a while.
Did have a good run. It was good. So but Falcon Crest is my number 5.
My number 5 was a show that I watched. I remember. Did it come on after? I think it's got one of my favorite theme songs. I remember getting my little tape recorder and recording the song. And I think it came on either after Magnum or before Magnum. It was Simon and Simon. It was the two brothers, Gerald McCraney, I guess, who's still acting now.
Yeah.
And Parker Stevenson, I guess his name was.
No, that wasn't Parker Stevenson.
Not Parker Stevenson. Parker, he had another, I don't know his name.
Yeah, he was a Parker.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Parker was married to Kirstie Alley for a while. Hardy Boys, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
But his name was Parker something. But I remember that they started out, they were on like Magnum. They had those back then. They had those crossover.
Yeah, they would do that back then, where they would start a show. They would guest on another show, and then it would go into their show.
But this is the era of when theme songs were big.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like Magnum, Airwolf, Simon and Simon, Falcon Crest, Dallas, You
had it backwards. Jameson Parker was.
Yeah, I knew it was something Parker. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, one of the first times you see Tim Reed, who goes on to be Venus Flytrap, and was already Venus Flytrap.
Yeah, WRP was before this. Yeah.
Tim
we missed
Reed.
that. For the life of me, I thought turkeys could fly.
Thanksgiving's over, dude.
Yeah. That's still one of the greatest ever.
All right. So that's your number 5. My number 4, we talked about a little earlier, Dynasty. Blake Carrington. You had who was that girl? Emma Samms. You remember her on there?
Oh yeah, Emma Samms.
But the cat fight, everybody always talked about between what was her name? Linda Evans and what was her name? She played Alexis. What was her name?
Joan Collins?
Joan Collins, that's it. That was probably the highlight of that show. And didn't they kill them all? They kill a bunch of them at the end.
I don't remember.
That like the finale, they killed off a lot of the characters at the end. I won't say it was.
I don't know, but I remember
now.
I remember Heather Locklear being on that show.
Yes. Oh, Dynasty was about oil too. I'm looking right now. The trials and tribulations of two feuding families, the Carringtons and the Colbys, both oil-rich families in Denver, Colorado.
They had Colby's was another kickoff show.
Yeah, that was a spinoff.
Speaking of Emma Samms, I mean, you know me, I watched General Hospital. She was on General Hospital for a while, and she just recently came on there. She still looks pretty good for 65, but God, I remember her, and there was a magazine that used to compete with Sports Illustrated back in the day called Inside Sports, I think. And she was always on the cover in the bikini. So yeah.
You remember Catherine Oxenberg?
Yes.
Yeah, and then Pamela Sue Martin.
She was the original.
She was
daughter.
Nancy Drew, wasn't she?
She was the original daughter. She's also Then they replaced her with Emma Samms.
Emma Samms took her place. That's right. So Dynasty. So that's Dynasty and Falcon Crest, one right after the other. Good. That would be a good lineup right there. But number 4 for me is Dynasty, not the Kiss album.
My number 4 is a show that I used to watch with my dad. like I said, we weren't real close, but this is kind of the stuff I remember when we lived in Missouri. And I remember liking it as a kid. And there was this cop on there that always called everybody dog breath. And it was pretty cool, but it was called Hill Street Blues. I didn't know too much about it, but it was a good show. I mean,
yeah.
It was I remember liking it. I mean, it was way above my 9-year-old head, but I got it. I mean, I could understand it. I understood that, was it the police chief? He was dating a district attorney, and there was always kind of, and I don't remember her name, but she was really pretty. It's not Connie
Veronica Hamill.
Yeah, that's her. And that actor was a really good actor too. He was,
Yes, he was a perfect one to be the chief. So Hill Street Blues, we may talk about that again.
I do that sometimes because we have a PD department at our school district. So I remember, like, I'm a good buddy of mine's a cop, and go, hey,
let's be careful.
Let's be careful out there.
Yep, I know
that guy. I think he was on the original Longest Yard.
Yeah,
I think he was a football player. My dad was telling me about him that, like, when he was doing that show, he was dying of like terminal prostate cancer.
He did. He was. He died. Yeah. He died, and they replaced him with what was that guy's name? I think he played on Mrs. Doubtfire too.
Pierce Bronson?
No, the gray-headed guy. Gosh, what was that?
Robin Williams?
I can't remember his name. Did
they replace the character or just him?
They replaced the whole. It had a new character that took his place.
I hate that when
I actually think they wrote him off the show. I mean, I
bet he died or something.
I may be wrong, but I think they wrote him off the show.
But he knew he was going to die. But I remember seeing him. He was in The Longest Yard, the original with Burt Reynolds. I think
he was.
I think he was a football player, wasn't he?
I can't remember what that. I'll have to look that up. So.
But it's like one of those movies you see a guy, hey, that guy was in, Hill Street Blues.
Yep. Number 3 for me, and I'm going to probably steal some of your thunder right here. I've never spent much time in school, but I've taught ladies plenty. Colt Seavers, the Fall Guy.
Baby.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool, I've never figured out, though. I guess he's a stuntman / private investigator. Bounty hunter, yeah. So,
I love that truck. God, that truck was badass.
That truck was bad.
When he had that side chart, he put those people on the side.
And then it always got me at the first of it. His little sidekick when he had the
Kid. Called him Kid. Remember calling him Kid?
the
Douglas Bar.
Where he could fly. He was flying and everything. And then, of course, probably one of the main reasons any young boy would watch that, Heather Thomas. Oh my gosh!
Don't forget about Marky Post.
Marky Post too, yes. But Marky Post back then was what was she? The lawyer for them?
Yeah, she was a lawyer or something. She was on Night Court as a lawyer, but she was on.
She had some kind of.
Like she gave him because he was like a bounty hunter to go get people. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You're right. It's been so long since I watched it, man.
It's been a while.
I'm sure we may be hearing about that a little later.
Probably so. So, all right, you're number 3.
My number 3 is a repeat. We just talked about it. Heather Locklear, Dynasty. It was weird. I was a kid, but I always thought Joan Collins was hot. Linda Evans, I never really got into her. I never could understand how that guy. Wait a minute. I take that back. I could always understand how John Derek traded in Bo Derek for. Linda Evans, even on the Big Valley, I was like, she's not all that. She just wasn't. I think it's the eyes. I don't know what it is, but I was like Joan Collins, and I saw her not too long ago. She's like pushing 90. She looks pretty good, man. I mean, it's been a while since I had a girlfriend, so maybe that's what I'm saying.
Go on, boy. Go for it.
She's pretty foxy.
All right.
But I always remember Dallas and Dynasty. They always tried to outdo each other. Like
they did. That was what they were supposed to do, though.
But we both know Dallas was a better show.
Yeah, Dallas was.
Dallas was
the one everybody.
J.R. Ewing was just the man.
They had nobody that could top J.R. Ewing as far as a villain on that show. Alexis.
Hell, and and they had that reboot a few years ago. That's pretty good too. But I'm partial though. But
Yeah.
I saw Patrick Duffy. He's on another one of the soaps, Bold and Beautiful. Boy, still looks good, man. I mean, God, he got to be 70 something. Still looks good.
Man from Atlantis.
Yeah, and he's also in a Taco Bell commercial back when they used to serve real food.
Oh yeah. All right, number 2 for me, and it's a repeat. Hill Street Blues. Yeah, Dog Breath. When you said Dog Breath, I was like, yeah. You remember, what was it, Rinko and what was it?
Two guys, the black and white cop.
Yeah, the guy. He when they got shot.
Yeah,
I was like, because that was early on in like the show. I was like, they're gonna kill off those. Mike Warren, who was a big time college basketball player at UCLA, won a bunch of national championships at UCLA. But yeah, loved that show. I mean, they had so many characters, and it wasn't always serious stuff. You know, they had the serious stuff up there, but they also had the funny stuff up there.
Yeah, but how crazy the streets could be with I mean,
yeah, God. I mean, you had some crazy stuff to come in there. I remember Dog Breath, which was
he had a good run. He was on some other stuff too. Yeah.
Yes, but that will always be my favorite character that he ever played, because did he bite somebody in there?
Yeah.
But yeah, Hill Street Blues.
It was cool because it showed real life. Like,
it did. I mean, that was one of the first shows to do that. It started a trend.
Now everything's a cop freaking show or like about fire department or something.
All of them are showing. They found out when Hill Street Blues come out, they could show real life and have a hit show.
Yeah.
I mean, you started that, then you had something like, you remember St. Elsewhere, which was a hospital. So, I mean,
Howie Mandel.
Yep, Howie Mandel.
There wasn't the guy that played Kit, wasn't he on there?
Yeah, he was the. But also, who else was it in there?
Who was the guy that the real like kind of geeky liberal guy? Ed Begley Jr. Yeah.
It was somebody else.
Wasn't the ending of it like it was all a dream in some kid's mind? I'm like, what?
I don't know. I don't remember watching the ending. But do you know? You don't remember who else was in there?
Yeah, Denzel.
Yep, Denzel.
How could I forget my fellow Cowboy fan?
Exactly. That's typical.
I like Denzel. Denzel's one of my favorite actors of all time. He does a movie, I'll go see. I love Denzel.
Yeah, Denzel's great. I do like Denzel. All right, Hill Street Blues is number 2 for me. What you got at number 2?
My number 2, changing up a little stuff. I remember I got into this. I was like 9. And you know my background I've grown up in about the religion and stuff. There was such a freaking outrage over these little bastards, Smurfs. Because he told me, well,
you talking about the lead singer from Accept?
Yeah. the Smurfs, because somebody said that, that's German for demon. And I liked it. I mean, of course, Gargamel is over here casting spells with his cat. And
Azrael.
But one thing I did remember is like one girl and all those guys.
Oh my gosh, you heard it.
And she wasn't. And didn't she transition too? Didn't she pull the Caitlyn Jenner? When she made a guy and they put her into a girl, then they turn into a girl. So this was all conditioning young little minds like mine to accept this evil stuff. That's what I was told. I was like, oh, get over it. Whatever. It's a freaking cartoon.
Okay, so Smurfs is your number 2.
Yeah, I watch that every Saturday. I love that show.
Oh, yeah, I watch it every Saturday. Yeah, so the lead singer for Accept is number 2 for you. All right, number 1.
With Caitlyn Jenner.
Number 1 for me. And
let me guess. Let me try to think. 1981. What's popular? I have no clue. I have no clue.
George Costanza's Answer Machine.
Oh yeah. Believe it or not. Yeah. Oh yeah. Greatest American Hero. Yeah.
Greatest American Hero, which was
my top. Connie Selica.
Connie Selica, yes. And but yeah, it wasn't really. It was a superhero show, but not really what you would say a typical superhero show. He gets his powers from aliens. and he doesn't really know how to handle it. I mean, the flying and stuff was always an issue with him, but good show, funny show.
Great song.
Yeah, great song. Joey Scarberry, who did the theme song.
I always remember watching the show, and of course, I was young at the time, and I always thought that guy that was his partner, that older guy,
Oh yeah,
was Mr. McGee chasing the Incredible Hulk. And I could have sworn my dad's like, no, it's not the same guy.
it's not the same guy.
You know what I'm talking about? Robert. His name was Robert Culp, I think.
Robert Culp, I think.
Yeah. So, but I got those two mixed up. But Connie Selica, yeah, and she went in to do Hotel later on and marry John Tesh.
John Tesh, Entertainment Tonight. Yeah, so number one for me, and probably more well known for the theme song than the actual TV show, but Greatest American Hero. Definitely. Check
that
it
guy
out.
that was such a dick and Carrie.
Oh yeah, he was. He was.
Blood and stuff. Yeah, William Catt.
Yep.
So yeah, great show. I remember watching that.
Oh yeah, I watch it all the time.
Well,
All
there's mine. We talked about it already. It's the name. There was a period probably between 1974 and probably 1986 that Lee Majors was my god. First being Colonel Steve Austin.
Yeah.
And then Colt Seavers and Steve. I mean, I don't have too many people I want to meet in my life, but if I could meet somebody and like if he does a Comic-Con here or whatever, I would pay to go meet Lee Majors because he seems like a good dude. I mean, you see him in interviews, and I love the $6 Million Man.
Yeah,
I remember the Fall Guy came out on DVD. By God, back in 2005.
and
but I guess it didn't sell because they never released season 2 on. So I was like, hey, that one guy in San Antonio bought it, but it's pretty hard to watch now. It's actually easier to watch the $6 Million Man because it's like, but the Fall Guy, I mean, they're supposed to making a remake of it with Ryan Gosling.
Oh,
He's
really?
playing Colt Seavers, I think.
Please.
It's kind of like Zac Efron playing Kevin Von Erich, right? Yeah, I think I posted something on my 80s page about that happening. They need to put Lee Majors in it to give him a cameo. Like they've been talking about making this.
If he'll do it,
he'll do it. They've been talking about the $6 Million Man. They need to put him in that. Play Oscar Goldman maybe. But yeah, Fall Guy, I loved it. Watched till it ended. Remember having the truck, having the toys. Lunchbox. Had the Colt Seavers lunchbox. Yes.
I'm looking at the lyrics to the song. I'm not the kind of kiss and tell, but I've been seen with Farrah. I've never been with anything less than a 9. So fine. I've been on fire with Sally Field, gone fast with a girl named Bo, but somehow they just don't end up as mine.
I like the one about Burt Reynolds. That he's just kissing dirt. While while Burt can kiss him, or and then he talks about Eastwood. He makes Eastwood look so fine.
Yeah.
Or he talks about Redford. I mean, he called out a lot of those guys.
I'm the unknown stuntman that made Redford such a star.
Yeah.
I'm the unknown stuntman that makes Eastwood look so fine. Got burned up over Cheryl Tiggs, blown up for Raquel Welch. But when I wound up in the hey, it's only hey.
Hey. Yeah, I like that. I like the first couple episodes because it was pretty cool that he actually highlighted stuntmen and like how important they are.
Well, I wonder if Hal Needham had anything to do with this, because Hal Needham was a stuntman he was actually the one that did Smokey and the Bandit. He produced Smokey and the Bandit, but I'm wondering if he had anything to do with this. I'll have to look.
It's kind of funny that he played a stuntman because if you watch old $6 Million Man stuff, that ain't him.
No,
it's so obvious that dude, that's not even Lee. I mean, it's so obvious. It's not Lee Majors. They didn't even try to hide it.
I wonder if this kind of inspired a Burt Reynolds movie that was about a stuntman.
Hooper.
Hooper.
Yeah, Hooper.
No, Hooper was actually before. Hooper was in 78. So, and that was Hal Needham that did that movie too. So,
God, these guys like Lee Majors, Burt Reynolds, really like our idols at the time, man. I used to love Burt Reynolds. He was my Still one of the funniest lines. Happy Gilmore in that limo drives up. Wow, must be like Burt Reynolds or something. Every time I see a limo, I say that. It must be Burt Reynolds or something.
So, what's next? Songs or movies?
Let's save movies for later. Let's do the songs.
All right, songs. So you started out.
You mentioned them earlier. I think they played this when I saw Damn Yankees. I remember driving, and I remember we were parking at the Majestic I mentioned earlier. I saw Damn Yankees open or play there. And right in front of us, who walks in front of us? Tommy Shaw. Little as hell. It's like, man, I could have
he's a little guy.
ran him over and been in jail right now. I was kidding. Too Much Time on My Hands. I love that song. I love Early Sick. I love that. And what's the other song they had? Oh, Mama, I'm the Fear from Long Arm. I like that one. Renegade. Yeah.
They play that. They play that in the fourth quarter at every home Steelers game to get the crowd wound up. That's one of the highlights of going to a Steeler game.
Hey, speaking of Steelers, did you see that clip of Tomlin walking by and that guy tried to say hi to him?
I'll
text it to you. I'll text it to you. It's funny. I got a kick out of it. I like Tomlin.
All right. So my number 5, REO Speedwagon. Keep on Loving You.
Good song.
Yeah, I had the 45. I remember going to the record. We had a small record store in a town that was probably about 10, 15 minutes from here. But we used to go, not every Saturday, but every other Saturday, my parents would take us over there. And there was a 45 in there. I remember seeing it, and I'd heard it on the radio. I was like, I want this one. I'm a REO. And I decided, I'm not only a Kiss fan, I'm going to be a REO Speedwagon fan. So, yeah. But Keep on Loving You.
Good song. I like REO Speedwagon.
Yeah, REO Speedwagon was mine. Kevin Cronin, and they're still going today.
Yeah, they played a small little bar here in Bernie, Texas, which is that's where Joey Kramer has a place, and Goldberg lives. It's probably about 30 minutes. Yeah, Goldberg lives in town. Cause I saw him on TV. I'm like, Bernie resident. I'm like, what?
What?
And Steve Austin used to live out there. I see him at Deborah back. This is how long ago it's been. So
yeah,
they played like a little bar there, and I was like, if it wasn't so far, I'd go. But man,
you have to go one night. All right, Keep on Loving You is my number 5. What's your number 4?
Number 4, a song I vaguely kind of remember when I was young, but I really love today. These two dated, evidently. She was more into him than he was into her, and it was Tom Petty and Stevie Nicks, Stop Dragging My Heart Around. I read some stuff on her that he was more into the rock star than she always kind of wanted to settle down, which is kind of funny considering she never did. But Stop Dragging My Heart Around, Stevie Nicks, Tom Petty.
That's a good song. I can't see I can see it, but I can't see her being into him more than he was into her.
That's what I read. I don't know if it's true.
When you say, he was in the rock star thing, she wanted to settle down, that makes sense.
I think he was maybe a little younger than her.
Yeah, he had. Well, could have been that much younger, but maybe
that's another bucket list that I miss. Tom Petty.
Yeah. All right. Excuse me. My number 4. And this song was all over the radio. I mean, all over the radio, and whatever it came on. And we ended up getting the album for this guy who was also an actor at the time on General Hospital.
Oh, shit.
Talking about good old Jesse's Girl.
John Stamos. Just kidding. John Stamos. Just kidding.
Rick Springfield, Jesse's Girl. And I mean, yeah, you just, and back then you didn't, as an 8-year-old, of course, I didn't understand the lyrics. But yeah, you hear it now, you're like, okay, this is pretty cool. So, he's
Stalker.
You never heard the girl's name though. Somebody asked when I was doing like some research, everybody was like, what was his girlfriend's name? And it was like, he never said what the girl's name was. I mean, it was just Jesse's Girl. But he did do, I don't know if you ever saw it or not, where he did there was a band that did the sequel to Jesse's Girl, and he was in the video with it. I've got to find it. And post it. But yeah, it's been a couple of years ago.
I just remember him being so big at the time, and I remember he was on General Hospital, and I remember MTV had him on there.
Movie? Yeah.
Huh?
You remember the movie he did?
No.
He did a movie. What was it called? Hard to Hold. where he pretty much played himself, dealing with a relationship with a woman that he was, as a rock star. That the name of the group is Coheed and Cambria, Jesse's Girl 2. It was released on August 21st, 2020. It's got 1.1 million views. So Rick Springfield gets comic retribution in twisted sequel to Jesse's Girl. So
what was it with them in the cars? My best friend's girl and then Jesse's girl.
Jesse's
Come
Girl.
on, dude, leave her alone.
What kind of friends are you guys? I mean,
what I just remember that song he did. Sammy wrote, "I've done everything for you."
Yeah,
Sammy Hagar wrote that song. Yeah,
and they're still really good friends.
Yeah,
Sammy did, that show he did on Access TV.
He's still touring, so
yeah.
Rick Springfield.
So number 4 for me is Jesse's Girl.
Number 3 for me is probably a song it's not that I remember from back then, but it's one of my favorites one of my favorite songs by this artist. All those years ago, George Harrison.
Yeah.
George Harrison next to Paul is probably my favorite Beatle. I don't know. I don't really have a favorite Beatle. I mean, I love the Beatles. I put Paul and George the same because I love their stuff all the same.
Right.
And I just, all those years ago talks about the Beatles, talks about everything, He has a song called When We Were Fab. I don't know what album.
We Were Fab. Yeah.
I don't know what that's on. But all those years ago, George Harrison. Okay. So underrated as a Beatle. But when you got Paul McCartney, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, with George came, as far as a single artist, when he hit the big time in the 80s.
No, 70s.
Well, when he hit the charts big time in the 80s with I Got My Mind Set on You, that's when
later.
Yeah, it was later. Yeah, I know it was later. I'm just saying.
Okay.
And then later on, songs like My Sweet Lord, and When We Was Fab, and all those years ago, I backtracked and heard these songs. But he's definitely the most underrated of the 4 Beatles for sure. Played a hell of a guitar solo.
I would put him above. I personally, being a Beatles fan, would put him above Lennon, but that's just me.
Oh wow, you might get stoned for that.
No, George. No, just his solo stuff alone.
That's what I'm saying. You might get stoned for that. I mean, he didn't have a Yoko.
Why would I get stoned for that?
He didn't have a Yoko Ono back there doing songs with him. Woo-hoo. Anyway, all right.
Yeah,
let's move on.
You heard her stuff, right? That's my next song.
Okay, we're ending the podcast after that. Then number 3 for me, and the first of one of my 2 crushes. Man, she was
Rick Springfield's the first one. So.
No, I said first of my 2 on this list. So do your math. You weren't a very.
I know what you said, but I know what you meant, Stevie.
All right. So she had been a crush of mine for a while because she had been in one of my.
Are you gonna treat her right?
Huh? No, that's not the one.
Oh, thought I'd take a guess.
Yeah, this one was Olivia Newton-John, Physical. And the video
that was 82. No, you're right. I'm bad. My bad. You're right.
I just want to see how many times you would say that so I can keep looping that over and over. And every time on the show when you say something.
I say that because I was going to put her greatest hits as one of my top 10, but I was like, that's 82. And I just remember that song being on there.
Yeah. Physical came out in 81 and it was like at the top of the charts. The video was,
big time controversial.
Controversial, big time.
And it wasn't about her. It was about those 2 guys walking off holding hands.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, really? That upsets you? But it's like, she was smoking it. And I don't like women with short hair, but man, she was the exception.
Could not like Olivia Newton-John. That lady was just plain beautiful. There's nothing more you can say about it. She was just beautiful any way she looked. Beautiful voice, beautiful looks, and I mean, Physical was And it kind of got started a trend, people going to exercise and stuff like that. That they did the whole.
And the Jane Fonda workout video.
Yeah, you saw that everybody dressing like she was in that video.
That headband.
So, yep. So, but number 3 for me is Physical.
Number 2 for me, I remember seeing the album. A buddy of mine had the album or cassette, and I was like, "Wow, I didn't know she did music. I thought it was Janet from Three's Company."
Oh God!
I was like, "Hey, is that Janet from Three's Company?" They're like, "No." You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I don't know.
I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett, because she had that look on there. I thought that was like, hey, that's Janet from Three's Company. She kind of looked like Joyce DeWitt a little bit.
Yeah, I could see that.
I remember that song was everywhere, and I always loved this song because the solo is so reminiscent of something Ace would do. That song is short and sweet, and it's like it reminds me of an Ace Frehley solo. It always has, but that's evidently a cover. They did this as I think it's a cover, or they did something. They did it as a response to the Stones' "It's Only Rock and Roll."
Yeah,
that was their answer to the "It's Only Rock and Roll," but I like it. But this song was everywhere. It was a big hit.
It was.
I still love it.
We had the cassette, and there was a lot of, what was there? Was one song up there was a remake from old
Clemson and Clover.
Crimson and Clover, not Clemson.
Something like that. Clemson Tide, Roll Tide, whatever.
And then there was one called Runaway. There was a bunch of good songs on that album. And that was back when you listened to the whole cassette. You had to, because you paid $8 for it. You didn't have iTunes or Spotify or whatever. You had to listen to the whole thing and enjoy it. But that would be probably one of my honorable mentions right there. I love rock and roll. I remember we got the Xbox, and we got the Rock Band, and this is one of the songs my daughter loved to play on there was I Love Rock and Roll. She loved to do the singing part of it. So
Victim of Circumstance, I think, too.
Yeah, that was another one.
She has Louie. Summertime Blues. Well,
number 2.
She does a lot of covers.
Yeah, she does. She's got one album that's like a double or maybe a triple album. It's nothing but covers.
Like that song, I Hate Myself for Loving You. What was Desmond Child singing that it's like Heaven's on Fire? It's just rewritten or something like that.
It was another one.
There was some song, I Was Made for Loving You, was it?
No. I Hate Myself for Loving You. You Love Me to Hate You.
Something like that.
That came out the same. It was on Hot to Shade. Kiss song.
No, it was a well-known song. He said it wasn't that one, because he told Jericho or something that he played it and he goes, "Oh, it's the same thing as," I don't know what it was.
That's I remember that, but I can't remember.
Another podcast.
But it was the title was so similar too. It was like they just reversed it.
Yeah, but he does it on a lot of songs. Like Heaven's on, All right.
I did see earlier this week somebody posted about, you remember, of course everybody remembers Bon Jovi's You Give Love a Bad Name.
Mm-hmm.
And to listen to a Bonnie Tyler song from before that, and I'm trying to look it up now so you can.
Nobody knows who Bonnie Tyler is, dude. Come on.
Bonnie Tyler?
Nobody knows. Compared to Bon Jovi, nobody knows. It's kind of like Led Zeppelin and Spirit. Nobody cares about Spirit.
What's the name of that song? Hold on.
Different podcast, Stevie.
If I were, and listen, this is the name of the song. If I were a woman and you were a man, You Give Love a Bad Name. Different title, different lyrics, same song, same hair. So yeah, look it up. You'll hear it. So
I'll do that right now, Stevie. I'll look that up.
Number 2 for me. Just a small town boy from Don't Stop Believing. Your favorite song, Journey, and you cannot get fatigued with this song.
Oh, you can.
No, not with this.
Oh, believe me, you can. I am a testament to that.
You can go to
especially when people try to start singing karaoke, God's even worse. Just when you think Journey couldn't get worse, people cover it and sing in karaoke.
Well, we could say that for Kiss too.
That's true. Anybody, really.
Yeah. but yeah, just a great song, and it's like an anthem at a lot of sports games now. But yeah, Don't Stop Believing is my number 2. I know you just love to hear that.
I wake up when I have my alarm set to 80s on 8, and that comes on. That makes me get out of bed. So, time to get up. We talked about this before.
Believing.
Probably one of my favorite songs that I ever heard, or ever. Hello. That makes a lot. One of my favorite songs I ever heard. One of my favorite songs by this band. Yeah, Tommy. Yeah, you got that right. Mean warrior, my mighty man. Urgent, Foreigner. I still love that song.
Oh wow, that's number 1 for you.
That's number 1 for me. I love that song. It's probably my favorite Foreigner song next to Blue Monday, which is a great song too.
Yeah, that is a great song.
Foreigner it's so funny. You talking about Journey. I of course never liked Journey, and I remember my buddies giving me a bunch of crap and go, how do you like a Foreigner but not Journey? I'm like, they're like kind of like the same.
They are similar.
I'm like, no, they're not. Don't tell me that. I don't want to hear that crap.
Yeah, and then you were like, yeah, they are. Why?
No, I think I grew up listening to Foreigner, like with my mom and stuff like that, and I think that's why I like them. And that's a band too that they're on a farewell tour, and it's like, one I never saw, and it's like I don't know, it's not the same without. And I know that guy from Hurricane does a pretty good job.
Yeah, he does.
Lou Gramm is Lou Gramm, dude. I mean, I'm a Lou Gramm guy.
But Mick Jones is Foreigner, though.
Yeah, and the 5150 producer.
Yep. All right. Number 1 for me. Another crush. I just remember seeing these girls on the videos, and I was like, "Holy crap!" That lead singer is so freaking.
Well, she is a few years later. She's not so hot.
Oh, she was. She was.
No, she was hot later on. Not this one. I know you're talking about.
Number 1 for me is "Our Lips Are Sealed" by the Go-Go's. Not "We Got the Beat," but "Our Lips Are Sealed." It's a better song than "We Got the Beat." I know "We Got the Beat" is the one everybody thinks Go-Go song, but "Our Lips
Who's
Are
that
Sealed."
Brunette in the band? She was short.
Jane Weedland.
Yeah, I always liked her too.
Yeah, she has been. She left the band, tried to do a solo career, didn't work out too well for her. But if you ever watch Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, she plays Joan of Arc.
That's not her. Really?
How
That's
much
her?
do you want to bet right now? I'm
I don't
holding my
bet,
hand out to
Stevie.
shake on it.
I'm a Cowboy fan. I don't bet, Stevie. I'll lose. Really? That's her?
That's her.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yep. You learn something
That's
new
why
every day.
I always thought Joan of Arc was cute too. So hey, well, I guess there you go.
See?
I didn't know that was her. Wow, really? And that was after they had their fame. Wow.
Yep.
I
All
didn't know that.
the video is so. I mean, it's so low budget. All they do is ride around in a car, and then they stop at a fountain, get in a fountain. But it's so great. It's just great, great song. And the lyrics, the middle part, your girl, that you think so cute, was you're looking it up now to see if I'm telling you the truth about her playing Joan of Arc, ain't you?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you don't believe me. I want to see your face when you 5.
I just never knew that. Oh, I mean, it's not that I don't believe you. It's just that I never knew that. I never knew that.
You're gonna find out right now.
But I mean, I'm surprised you actually learned something from me, Stevie.
Oh, thanks. Jeez. But yeah, to hear the little middle part of the song.
Well, I never knew that was her. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she wrote the little part, "Hush, My Darling," and it was about this song was pretty much about her relationship with a guy that was in another band when they were on tour in the UK, and he was still in another relationship, but yeah, she wrote this about that relationship.
Who? I'm sorry, you lost me. Who were we talking?
Jane Weedland. Yeah.
Okay.
While you were looking up that, not because you didn't believe.
I just. It's not that I didn't believe you. I just never knew that, Stevie.
Yeah. So now.
And how many times have I seen that movie? And of course, you're like, "Who is that?" But of course, we all know the star of the show was Socrates. Come on.
Socrates, yeah. Socrates the philosopher.
That and Napoleon when he's on the water slide.
But yeah, I remember watching it the first time I watched it, and I was looking, I was like, she looks familiar.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
And then
Didn't have a Google back then
you
when I
didn't have
saw
Google,
it.
so when you watch it, watching it after we had the ability to look it up, and I was like, but then you look at the credits, and it's like Jane Wheatland. So
I just remember Nuno doing the guitar work in a lot of that. It was great.
And especially the mall scene. That's extreme. And the mall scene. All right.
I love that when he's calling his dad. Yo, this is Deputy Van Halen.
Oh, this is Deputy Van Halen down at the station.
And in the next movie,
come get them.
In the next movie, the stepmom's with the other guy.
Stepmom was.
Mom.
Everybody. Misty.
Mom.
And of course, in the next movie, in Bogus Journey, Kiss's music saves the world.
Did you see the new one, the latest one?
Yes.
Is it any good?
It's okay.
It was
more nostalgia stuff.
The second one was so good that I was like, I want to remember the first and second one. I don't want to watch this.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't like Bogus Journey. I love Bogus Journey.
Oh, I do too.
I love the Grim Reaper. Death. He was so great in that movie.
Plus, I love the first one so much because Carlin was in it. Carlin wasn't in the second one, was he?
No.
Okay.
No. Yes,
George. Death was the big deal. Death
was the
Yeah, George Carlin was one of my favorite. I loved Carlin.
He was Rufus.
Yeah.
Rufus.
So we're going to movies now.
Now we're on movies.
All right, I'll let you go first, Stevie, since I went first last time.
And people that know me know I have a dry sense of humor sometimes.
You have a sense of humor?
Mel Brooks. Yeah, you can never go wrong with a Mel Brooks movie. And I'm telling you,
I give you these 15.
As you can say, with a lot of Mel Brooks movies that came out back in the day, there's no way they could do it.
Oh, no way.
The Snowflakes and all of them would get
Blazing Saddles, all that stuff he did.
Yeah, you'd probably be able to watch. What is it? They said Blazing Saddles has been edited down for TV now. It'll air from like 9:00 to 9:05. So, but History of the World Part 1.
Isn't that the one with I give you the 10 commandments or whatever?
Yes. They did several periods of time. Gregory Hines was in this movie playing a slave. Madeline Kahn played Empress Nympho. And then Caesar, played by Dom DeLuise. Oh, my gosh. It was so freaking hilarious.
God, he's about the only one still alive. Mel Brooks, they're all dead but him.
Yeah, Mel Brooks is the only one probably still alive.
Did you ever watch that? Did I ever tell you to watch Silent Movie? That's one of the funniest.
I have not watched that. I've got to watch it. But yeah, we had the video disc player before they had a VCR. The video disc.
Laser disc?
No, it wasn't laser disc. It was a video disc. It was just.
I thought that's what they were called, laser disc.
No, laser disc was you could actually have it looked like a vinyl record and put it in.
Oh, that's
there.
okay.
This one was like had a plastic cover, and you would slide the plastic cover in the machine, and the cover would come back out, but the thing would stay in there, play the movie.
Were you able to stop it or fast
forward? Yeah, you could do all that. You could
pause it on the boobs.
Yes. But yeah, so History of the World, there's so many catchphrases I use to this day. And I have a kid.
I have never seen the movie. I have never watched the movie all the way through.
I have a kid at work that is like in his 20s. And when we first, he loves movies. He can act out scenes from a lot of movies. And this is one of them he loves too. He loves the Roman, when they're running from the Roman Empire. And one of the leaders of the Roman Empire catches up with him, and Mel Brooks hits him with a sword, and the sword is cardboard. And Mel Brooks like, I'm fighting with cardboard. And the guy was like, looked at him. He pulls his sword, and he said, "Goodbye, head." And Mel Brooks looks at him and says, "Hello, balls," and kicks him right square in the nuts. Yeah, it's so funny. History of the World, my number 5.
I need to watch that. I've never seen it.
I watch Silent Movie. You watch History of the World.
Okay, gotcha. My number 5 And every time I see this guy, no matter what he's in, he's Damien to me.
Oh.
Jurassic Park, whatever. Sam Hill. Was it Sam Hill? Sam Neill. The Omen 3. When, of course, I watched the ones growing up. When he, I did it for all you, Damien, back in the 70s. And when he finds the 666 on his head as a kid. And then when he's trying to be president or something, the Antichrist, the Omen 3. And, of course, at the end, Jesus prevails. Jesus beats the devil like it all. But every time I see him, it's like, hey, that's Damien. That's Damien, no matter what movie I see him in. The Omen 3. Did you like that one?
Yeah, I couldn't get into that. I'm sorry. Not a big horror movie or anything.
Wuss.
Yeah, that's me, wuss, because I don't watch Satan coming to be president.
And you're a member of the Chamber of Thrills, Stevie? What the heck's wrong with you?
I know.
I'm not a big horror movie. This is kind of based in reality if you believe the Bible and the devil and all that stuff, but
yeah,
you're going to really love my number 4 pick.
I'm sure I will. My number 4.
3, 5. Did you do 5 already? Oh, History of the World.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
Another comedy. And Bill Murray. I've watched it hundreds of times. Stripes. Don't Call Me
John
Friend.
Candy and
John Candy,
what's
Harold
his name?
Ramis.
Harold Ramis, that's what.
Yeah. But yeah. John Candy plays what's his name? Ox. And to hear him talking about why he joined the army and stuff like that, the story about get out of a lot of aggression and it's free. It's free. But yeah, Bill Murray, I think this is pretty much what solidified Bill Murray as a lead in a comedy. Everybody remembers the iconic scenes are the ones where they go to the graduation and Bill Murray's leading them. And he said, that's the fact, Jack. So that's got to be one of the iconic scenes. But Stripes. Yeah. And then you had what was the girl from Halloween, PJ Souls?
I thought you didn't like scary movies.
I knew she was in Halloween.
I never seen Halloween.
I
saw it a long time ago.
Yeah, but she was his love interest in Stripes. So Stripes is my number 4.
I was thinking Karen Allen, but that was Scrooged.
Yeah, that was Scrooged.
Okay.
Yeah. Karen Allen up later on, though.
Number 4 for me is supposedly based on a true story, and it's got to be the suckiest true story of all time. You're a woman, and you bend over, and the ghost comes and rapes your ass. The Entity. I think it was Barbara Hershey was in it.
Oh, my God.
It was, I've studied this story before, and it's about a poltergeist or a demon that followed this woman. There's case studies of this. They could never explain it. They did they looked at her and they tried to they always try to debunk everything, but they could never figure out what's going on. But she would have these marks and she would have this stuff around her that would and it was real cheesy 80s because when the ghost was attacking her, it was real cheesy 80s. He was dun, 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 Oh my God. But it's based on a true story and it's a pretty scary story.
What's the name of it again?
The Entity. The Entity.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Barbara Hershey's in it. But it's based on a true story about she lived in Texas for a while, but she moved and it followed her and something. And they, like I said, they try to debunk it.
Is this like Jaws of Revenge? Jaws?
No, I think it was. You look at it and you're 8 or 9, read it probably scares the crap out of you. But if you do your research and read about it, they weren't able to debunk it. So it's
kind of scary.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of crap in my stuff, but Hollywood always kind of glams it up and kind of makes it more scary than it actually is. But it's a pretty freaking scary story if it happened. That would freaking suck, man. Yeah. Unless it's like Marilyn Monroe coming after you every morning, that'd be okay. Unless it was like Marilyn Monroe doing it to me, that'd be fine.
Oh Lord. Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen that one either.
Or like an angel when Steven Tyler and the ghost is going
oh my God, that's probably one of. I always thought that was some of his cocaine that he was sniffing that would just form the thing up in the air when he.
Well, you see the angel, she's going towards his crotch. I'm like, my God.
Tipper Gore would have had a stroke with that.
Well, it's the 80s. They got away with it.
Yeah.
Like they were more upset at Ragdoll when he's waving all the women. And they were pissed about that.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
funny though. That's hilarious.
All right. Number 3 for me, another comedy. And this was one that, you always wanted to see as a kid because everybody talked about so much about it. It was like,
had boobs in it.
well, we didn't know it had boobs in it at the time, but everybody was talking about it. It was it was one of those movies you said as a kid, you don't need to be watching that.
Porky's.
And Porky's.
Yep.
Yes, Porky's. Get it at Porky's.
I didn't see that movie until probably 2 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't allowed to see stuff like this,
Yeah.
Stevie, which explains why you're the way you are and I'm the way I am.
Exactly.
Is that the one with Sex in the City chick, right?
Yes, Lassie.
Oh, yes.
Lassie. Why do they call her Lassie?
Yeah.
Get her up there in that room, you'll find out.
Can you imagine if they made that movie today, like looking in a girl's locker room like that? You'd be in prison, dude.
Exactly.
And I don't know. I mean, I watched all 3 of them and stuff, but it was like the one that he lost his virginity to, I thought was the best one.
Wendy.
I thought she was the hottest one.
Yeah, the one he got at the little restaurant, the drive-in. We said, "Yes, I'm looking for a friend of mine. He's supposed to be there."
Is that the one? Is that the one or number 2 where they get the gun and they like they're gonna scare them or something like that? They were told them to get naked and then they went. It was I think it was the second one maybe.
Oh, you talking about? Is that the one? Oh, with the KKK guys?
Well, they were like there and they were have the girl. They were have the girl and they were like a
no, that was the first one.
That was the first. Yeah, when they got the gun and
yeah. And
that was, I mean, it was funny.
The big guy busted her supposed husband busted through the.
Yeah.
That was the first
I watched that one and I remember thinking, okay, because I never seen this before, but I remember my friends at the time talking about it, like, how in the hell do you get to see stuff like that? I never got to see stuff like that.
It was hilarious. It was so much.
Pretty. But it still stands out. It's still funny stuff,
And Kim Cattrall was pretty much the only well-known that went on to be a well-known actor or actress from this movie. I have looked up a lot of these guys because I would love to get one of these guys on the show to do an interview about Porky's and the whole Porky's adventure.
And the part where the principals are trying to describe what was his
when the woman wants to do a sketch artist to draw out her description of it, and they have the boys line up.
Tallywhacker? They're like the coach, and the boys are laughing.
He say tallywhacker. Yeah, the guys are just dying laughing over there.
And what's the one? Is there a part in there where they find the porn film? I've watched this thing 6 times.
That's like I think that's the second one, maybe the third one.
They're funny. I mean, like I said, I watched them as a man. And
yeah.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't let a 9-year-old boy watch that.
No. There was a reason why they said you don't need to be watching that. They were right. But Porky's is my number 3.
My number 3 is I remember watching this. I was living down in I don't know how I watched it. I think I discovered this movie later, like when I moved down to Texas and stuff. And what I remember is No More Wire Hangers.
Oh gosh,
Mommy Dearest. But I remember, I think it was it Faye Dunaway that played?
Yeah.
But there's a part in there where she's in the shower. So I saw that part and I ended up watching the rest of the movie. And myself at home, nobody's with me, so I was like, okay, I'll watch this. And I love that movie, man. And it was like, God, it was just, she was such a bitch to her daughter.
Yeah, she
and
was.
I mean, but that was like a bestseller book, and
yeah,
that's one of my favorite cult classics, huh?
Wasn't that a true story?
Yeah, it was about Joan Crawford.
Yeah. So,
No More Wire Hangers.
Number 2 for me, and we're going to get off the comedy track for the last 2, believe it or not. But we're going. This was just a blockbuster movie for that year.
I can't believe that's your number 2. I cannot believe you're going to pick that as your number 2. I'm surprised. I don't know
which one. Yeah, there's 2 of them now. There's 2 of them. That
I'll let you finish.
But it was a sequel, and Yeah, see, you thought
You're
wrong.
okay. My bad.
You
Oh,
thought wrong,
no.
Junior. But
You're
it was
right. My bad. I'm
probably
sorry.
the
Forgive
best,
me.
the best of this series of movies to me. Superman 2. I just remember didn't get to go see it at the theater, and it came on like ABC. And once you got past the 10-minute credit scenes on all the Superman movies, then you
Go
got
Flythe.
into an actual movie. And, Zod, kneel before Zod. General Zod and his two henchwoman, that, and you actually thought at that time Superman had met his match. As a kid, you were like, okay, he's, and at the end when
I've been
well,
working out.
yeah, and he loses his power, or he voluntarily loses power to be with Lois Lane.
Yep.
And then does a whole trick with Lex Luthor when he said, "Oh, we were on the same team, though. We were."
I do it all the time.
I knew it all the time. Yeah, but yeah, and those series of Superman, they were all. I don't care who they put in Superman. Christopher Reeve will be
Exactly.
Superman. I mean, there's no doubt about
I
it.
think the closest they get to being that's Harry, the new guy, the same guy, the guy that's currently, he's about as close as you get, but nobody's Christopher Reeve.
Nobody in my mind will top Christopher Reeve.
The latest guy is the second. They had a couple of misfires after that,
Yeah.
but yeah, Christopher Reeve is Superman. Yeah, I remember that one, and this made my honorable mentions. And Planet Houston, remember that Planet Houston?
Yeah.
Houston, and that girl picks up the snake and and bites her and stuff. But
can you imagine, though? You talk about replacing Christopher Reeve as Superman. Can you imagine if they had actually went through with that Superman movie with Nicolas Cage as Superman?
I never got that. I never got the whole Tim Burton weird kind of thing.
Oh,
I was like, no.
Gosh, that would have been so bad.
But that was typical 90s. That was typical just being strange, that whole
You seen
Pulp
the
Fiction type
pictures?
thing.
You seen the pictures of him? Oh my God! It was so
there's a reason why it didn't get made, because people probably wised up.
Exactly. But yeah, Superman 2 is my number 2.
My number 2 probably wasn't a big hit, but I'm seeing a pattern here because there's nudity in this movie too. And I remember, along with number 1, going to the movies when I lived in Missouri, because God, the movies were like an hour away. I mean, probably like what you do now, how you live now. But it had some of the best claymation in it, some of the best, I guess, like Greek gods, I guess.
Oh, I know exactly.
Clash of the Titans.
Yeah.
I just remember seeing that, and I remember Harry Hamlin debuted in that, who later on came on a show we'll talk about later with LA Law, and just Ursula Andress is in it.
Burgess Meredith is in it.
Burgess Meredith, yes. And Pegasus and Medusa.
That freaking cuckoo owl, the mechanical owl.
They were in the latest one. Did you ever see the latest ones? They made an appearance here, yeah. But they tried to remake it. It's not the same.
No, it's not.
But Clash of the Titans, man, for back then, and if you ever watched the old Jason and the Argonauts or stuff like that, that's kind of what we grew up. That was 60s.
That kind of.
But this was high. This was high climation
back then.
Yeah, and that guy that played the devil, I guess, where he cut the hand off or whatever, that is how I picture the devil. That is, to me, what the devil looks like. that with the tail and everything. So, yeah, Clash of the Titans, man, one of my favorite.
That's going to be on my honorable mention.
I was at a flea market and they had this on Blu-ray for like $5, and I guess it was like, oh yeah, I grabbed it and stuff. Still haven't watched it.
Yeah,
I think I have a Blu-ray player.
I don't know. The school where we went to, in our English class, they had this big library the teacher had over there. I mean, we had a regular library, but she had a bunch of books in her class too. And Clash of the Titans was one of them. It had the big cover with Harry Hamlin on Pegasus and that big monster coming out of the water. The
Kraken. Release the Kraken. Oh,
yep.
Sir Laurence Olivier too. Yeah, one of the greatest actors of all time. Yeah, wow.
So number 1 for me,
I believe it's probably my number 1 too.
Dun, 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 dun,
Gotta be.
Dun, dun, dun.
There is no other answer.
The only reason I really went to see this movie to start with because Han Solo was playing in another movie. Harrison Ford, of course, legendary line of movies that started off with just called Raider. It wasn't even Indiana Jones called that. It was just called Raiders of the Lost Ark. Karen Allen, who you mentioned earlier, you were wrong about, but yeah, I love it. Karen Allen
Wasn't wrong about it. I just
Yes,
didn't
you were.
misplaced it. Come on.
Yeah, you did. But
Don't be a dick, Stevie.
you always say I am, so I might as well be. Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, what can you say about it? It was just everything you needed in a movie. He was the big time. Well, what killed me at the start of the movie, he's the big archaeologist and he's teaching college classes. And he looks in his class and all these girls, like the one with and he wrote it on her freaking eyelids. And he's trying to
It was the 30s, dude. They didn't have anything else to do, man.
And he's trying to get out of his classroom and without having to go back out in the hallway and face all these people. But it just started off a great line of movies. We're getting ready to see another one come out shortly, and looking forward to that. But yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark is my number one, and I'm sure that's your number one as well.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. Like I said, we didn't go to the movies a lot, but I remember us going and seeing this, and my best friend at the time went with us, and his dad. And so, what did we do before we went to see Raiders? We went to Pizza Hut.
Oh yeah.
And, but I just remember being so excited. My favorite part is when they're in one of my favorite parts is when they're in the library and they're talking about, oh, here's a picture of it and stuff. And he's trying to explain to him and goes, well, y'all never went to Sunday school? I mean,
yeah.
And you got the music playing. It's, oh, what is this? Oh, Power of God or something like that. But I mean, I just, and supposedly it's going to be nice because he's going to be killing Nazis in the new movie, and
he was killing that. He started off.
There's a lot of news about Nazis in the news lately. So hey,
Yep.
So I mean, yeah, this classic, one of my favorite. It just would have been hard to see Tom Selleck in this role. I mean, I love Tom Selleck; he's a great actor, but Harrison Ford is probably our generation's John Wayne. He is up there, and he's got a new show coming on with Helen Mirren, another Yellowstone spinoff. Not 1883. That was with Tim and Faith.
Yeah,
you're wrong about that, Stevie.
No,
it's coming out in this month, I guess. So it's another Yellowstone prequel. So that looks good. But he's got the new one done. They did some age generation, I guess, to get him. But I even like the one with the crystal skulls. I didn't think that was that bad. A lot of hate for that movie.
It was
the worst part. It had Shia LaBeouf in it.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad. Yeah, that was probably the drawback. It's kind of like Jar Jar Binks in the Star Wars movies. Shia LaBeouf.
I actually, to me, out of all of them, I think Legion of Doom,
Last Crusade,
Temple of Doom is the weakest of all. I didn't like
I didn't like Temple of Doom as much of it, but I thought, I'll put Last Crusades up there right behind Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, I will.
Right,
Sean Connery. Oh yeah.
Yes, and it's close because that was a really good one.
Every time I see that, I see River Phoenix, and I just think of what could have been with that guy.
What a waste!
Yes,
what a waste
drugs
of talent.
Suck.
Yep, just a waste of talent.
I think they were going to develop something with him, and they went with the TV show they had. But
yeah, probably so.
George Lucas got a lot of that inspiration from watching those old movie serials like Flash Gordon and all those they used to have stuff.
So let's talk about our honorable mentions. Let's start with the movies first. What's some of your honorable mentions on your movies?
Honestly, I didn't do any.
Okay.
Really, because I forgot. I mean, I guess Superman 2 would be my honorable mention.
Yeah.
But honestly, it was hard for me to come up with 5.
Well, I came up with
because I think I was more into TV and maybe music than I was movies. Because we didn't go to the movies a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Cannonball Run. Yeah. Daisy Duke.
Fox and the Hound.
Never saw it.
The Howling. Did you ever see The Howling?
That's what that really hot chick who turns into a werewolf or something, right?
D. Wallace Stone.
Yeah.
Neighbors, which was John Belushi
and Aykroyd. Never saw it.
Nighthawks.
Stallone and
Billy D. Williams. Cooler than the other side.
Who else is in that movie?
Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, Rutger Hauer.
Rutger Hauer.
You got to remember Rutger Hauer.
Billy D. Williams is Sylvester Stallone's partner in that.
Lando.
Lando Calrissian. So Cheech and Chong's Nice Dreams. That's another honorable
See,
mention.
a lot of these movies I wasn't allowed to watch, dude.
Arthur.
Yes, Arthur was great.
Yeah.
Don't you remember they made Arthur, and then like later on they made Arthur 2? It's like,
On the
well,
Rock.
it's not funny to laugh at drunk people. I go, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it was. All right, so TV shows. I don't really have any honorable mention on TV shows either, so we'll just skip that part. All right. Albums.
It was hard for me to. We talked about this. I don't remember a lot from 1981.
Yeah.
I think once we get to 83, 84, I'll start, because 82 is kind of a blur too.
Well, Motley came out Too Fast for Love in 81.
I didn't get into Motley till like
Yeah,
late
I
80s.
didn't either. Rick James Street Songs, which had Super Freak on it. That was
Can't touch this. God, that video. You watched that video, and those girls were supposed to be hot, but man, they look like woo. There's some rough looking babes in that video.
And then songs, your honorable mention for songs.
Like I said, I don't really.
Kiss on my list. Double Dutch Bus.
Oh yeah, Kiss on my list. That's right.
Pac-Man Fever. Greatest American Heroes theme song. Celebration by Kool and the Gang. Love a Rainy Night by Eddie Rabbitt. Yeah. So there was a lot. Centerfold.
Yes, Jay Giles Band. I think that in Centerfold and
Freeze Frame.
Freeze Frame, yeah.
Yep.
Those are big hits.
Yep. Rapture by Blondie.
Yes, that was a big hit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Like I said, I don't really. I mean, I was living in Missouri at the time because I remember Rapture. I remember that coming out, but I just remember watching the Fall Guy, of course. But but I mean, we didn't have it. I mean, back then, they only had like 3 stations, and you watch movie of the week or something. You go to the movies. I mean, once a month. And you had the radio, but that's where you had a lot of cassette tapes around to record stuff. So.
Yep. I always had mine close by.
It's funny. Right. I always see something from the 82 or like back then. I go, what was I doing that day? You ever think that?
You remember it? Can you remember what you were
doing?
Yeah,
what were you doing that day? Like, no, what was I doing that day?
I don't know if I can remember that when I was doing that particular day.
I know, but that time period maybe.
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean there. All right. So that's going to do it for 1981. And, coming soon next month, 1982.
It's funny for guys that don't know much about 1981. We did almost 2.5 hours talking about it.
We were close. But, that was like when I really started remembering more about
exploring yourself, Stevie.
Like, geez, you're sick. Music and movies and TV, that became a big part. Sports was always a big part. But I guess you'd say entertainment world became a bigger part of the picture for me then. So I remember a lot of this stuff. But so next week, we're supposed to have a special guest next week. So hopefully I haven't heard a confirmation yet, but I'm waiting to hear back. And we also have some more guests that are looking to come on. Maybe it'll be a different show. I haven't even talked to you about this topic, but I need to get it out there to you, see what you think. All right, guys. If you want to follow us, you can follow us right here on our YouTube channel. Anywhere you find your podcast, Spotify has been big for us. Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, whatever you want to call it. Podchaser, Good Pods, wherever you find your podcast at. And give us a 5-star review. Leave us a nice little follow on YouTube or give us a 5-star review on your podcast, wherever, because it gets us out there. It'll get more exposure to us. And we've had a lot of people. We picked up, Spotify did their year-end numbers, and we had picked up a lot in the last year. So, I was proud of that. Over 3,000 minutes of material, and most of that is Worden just blabbering on about something blah 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 blah.
Pretty
blah.
much, yeah.
But if you want to check us out on social media, you can follow us on Twitter on the Fly 70. I think it's just on the Fly on there. You can follow us on Instagram on the Fly on Instagram. Then you can check us out on Facebook. We've got Facebook groups that you can check us out at. All things rock, hard rock and metal. That 80s page, the On the Fly page. Follow us there, and just leave us if you wanna be a topic on the show, or do you think you got an idea for something, or you want to just drop us a line. Feel free to message either one of us on our personal Facebook page or on our on the Fly Facebook page. Messages. We're very receptive to messages, and we just thank you guys for listening and for everything you've done for this last year for us, and hopefully next year will be even better. We just got over another these milestones that we are looking at. We're getting to them quicker and quicker each month, and we appreciate it. We definitely appreciate it. Guys like Marty White, Jack Pinocchio, and so on, Tom and Zeus, all of you guys out there that have helped us along the way, we appreciate it.
Joe Decker,
the third member. So, any last words for you Colt Seavers?
No, the 80s were great. Looking forward to next week. Interesting guest. Hope we get him on there.
Yeah.
I got to do more research because I don't know too much about him except, kind of what, we both know about.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that. It's always nice to kind of explore new.
Go outside the box.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Turd Ferguson. But anyway, we've definitely got some stuff coming up, guys, and we hope you guys continue to listen, and we appreciate everything you guys do for us. And until next week, that's going to do it for this week. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week on the Fly.
See ya.